11 years. It's been 11 years since I last played what might be my favorite game. The game that introduced me to From Software.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
The game that defined the Soulsborne genre.
You were at my side all along.
A game so popular that Sony won't do anything with it. Like, seriously, what are they doing?
Some say cousin.
That's right, I'm playing Bloodborne. So ladies and gentlemen, it's time to re-experience Peak. But 11 years is a long time. Will Bloodborne even be a challenge? After fighting Mesmer, Melania, and Consort Radahn, will these bosses hit the same, or have I actually been coddled by the lands between? Today, we're keeping a running death tally to find out if the difficulty holds up, or if Yharnam's going to humble me. Let's hunt.
Oh, yeah. Pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place.
We pick Wasted Skin as our origin, as it's the closest thing there is to Deprived for the culture. We then make a monstrosity befitting a Yharnam by sliding everything to the left, and making them green, and giving them the cool glasses. With the contract finalized and signed, we receive a transfusion, meet the bad doggy, and whatever the hell these things are.
Jesus Christ.
Before finally getting started.
Ah, you found yourself a hunter.
Now, when you start the game, you don't have a weapon, and you come across this rather intimidating dog, which is supposed to be kind of like a pseudo-scripted death. However, I don't intend on giving the game any free deaths, so I'm gonna fight him. Now, our attacks do like doo-doo for damage, but using Bloodborne's visceral attack mechanics, we dodge through his attack, smack him in the back with a charged R2, and then finish him off with a visceral attack.
Very nice.
We use the same trick to get past the Yharnamites in front of the ladder, before ascending it and getting to our first lantern. We take the lantern back to the Hunter's Dream so that we can grab our weapons, the Hunter's Axe, and the pistol. We then talk to Gehrman, who tries to convince us to have a freak-off with the doll.
Even the dog, should it please you.
Gehrman! We then return to Yharnam, and I decide to start practicing my parrying on some of the enemies. When this guy hits you with the absolute classic.
Away! Away!
He said it! He said it! He said the thing! Anyways, as you can see, my parrying definitely needs some work, so I decided to practice on Big Chungus back here.
Alright, don't fuck it up.
It doesn't go well.
Strike! 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 You're out!
I hate parrying. But I don't let it get me down, as I run right back there and land a parry on him. After this, I start clearing my way through Yharnam, grabbing the most important drip in the game.
These are frame blue jeans. These are shoes that I picked up in Mexico. Ooh, this is maybe Prada.
I'm making it up to the bridge right before the Cleric Beast. Unfortunately though, I pulled both of their aggro, and while I'm focused on trying to parry one of them, the other one just comes out of nowhere and smacks me, ending up killing me. It's not a huge deal though, as we run back quickly and find out that the dog has our souls, so we have to kill it. Oh, I thought he was gonna die! And then decided to go talk to Eileen the Crow before we fight the Cleric Beast. Talking to Eileen will give us some bold hunter's marks, as well as a cool emote, which we're gonna need to use if we want to level up. You see, you can't level up in this game at 0 insight, and we'll get an insight for seeing the Cleric Beast, but since we can't level up until then, we're going to be at level 4, meaning the fight could be a little tricky. The Bold Hunter's Marks will allow us to actually level up without having to fight the Cleric Beast. So I stepped into the arena, ready to just Bold Hunter's Mark out, but as soon as the Cleric Beast came down screaming and the iconic music started, something snapped inside of me and I decided just to go for it. Now, the Cleric Beast is this game's version of a tutorial boss, but as you can see, I'm not doing that much damage to it, so I prepped myself for a pretty long fight. I also had to play pretty safe. I wanted to keep my souls by having to run back into the arena and grabbing them over and over and over. So I went on for a little bit, just taking 1 or 2 swings whenever I could, but the amount of damage I was doing to it was really starting to piss me off. You see, I had just come from playing Dark Souls 3 and a seamless co-op of Elden Ring run with my friend. And in those games, it's generally ill-advised to press R1 more than once, but Bloodborne is a different beast entirely. Each part of your R1 chain combo in Bloodborne has a scaling damage multiplier, meaning that if you just press R1 once, you're going to do nothing for damage against bosses. Bloodborne wants you to be aggressive, and the Cleric Beast is here to teach you that, with its insane health bar. There's also a pretty big multiplier on the transform attack, as well as charge R2s and uncharged R2s. You have to get creative with your punish windows in order to deal decent damage in this game. Please do good damage.
Oh, do
360!
After staggering the boss and landing a visceral attack, I continue with the same game plan for a little bit. Another thing I should mention is the axe probably has the lowest DPS against the cleric beast, as it's the only non-serrated starting weapon. Serrated weapons deal an additional 20% damage to beasts, and a lot of the starting bosses and enemies are actually beast creatures, meaning you can likely see a better DPS output from choosing one of those weapons. Additionally, fire does more damage to beasts, meaning if you could find fire paper or some molotovs, that can also help you out. But here I was, with none of those, fighting the cleric beast. Still, I did end up having some poorly timed dodges, which resulted in a few close calls.
Holy moly.
I buffered too many dodges there. When finally something gave away about halfway through the fight, and I decided to go for a charge R2. Seeing an actual damage number there meant that I was now going to incorporate these into my regular repertoire of boss attacks. And after strafing one of his attacks here, went for another charge R2. Man, I was feeling it. But I still wasn't fully committed, and my friends who were watching my stream on Discord were giving me a bunch of shit for it.
You need some charge R2s.
We're gonna get a nuts in.
And while I did go for more charge R2s in the fight, after not getting the armor on one of them, I ended up reverting back to the old strategy of staying behind the boss and hitting R1 between repositions. I actually got a pretty decent combo here. Resulting in the kill. Man, if this is all the game had for me, this was going to be a cakewalk. We go ahead and return to the Hunter's Dream and see that the doll is now talking, and it's our level up lady for the game. We're as low level as possible and have a fat stack of souls, so we distribute them pretty evenly between vitality, endurance, and strength. We also go ahead and use our cold bloods in order to get enough souls to pick up the Kirk hammer. As we continue to fight our way through Yharnam, we come across this ladder next to a tunnel. Then take the ladder and use it to open up an elevator, which acts as a shortcut from the nearest lantern. Returning to the bridge, we narrowly make it past a flaming boulder, and then make our way into what appears to be another boss room as a cutscene begins to play.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
Father Gascoigne is a super cool boss fight. A hunter like you, he wields two of the weapons that you could have picked at the beginning of the game, the axe and the blunderbuss. I start off by asserting my axe dominance by hitting him with a charge R2. And unlike the cleric beast, this actually knocks him down, meaning he can't retaliate on us, so it's always going to be safe if we have time to land it. And since now that we're leveled up, our damage is looking much better against Father Gascoigne. Still feeling the fight out, I back up into neutral, but you gotta be careful about in this fight, because Father Gascoigne likes to shoot his shotgun at you, which is pretty annoying. However, if you employ the strategy of dodging in towards the boss, you shouldn't have too much of an issue with it. At about 1/3 of his health bar missing, Father Gascoigne enters his phase 2, where he switches stances into the two-handed axe. I take the opportunity to do the same thing, as Father Gascoigne is a parryable boss, and I'd like to try getting some visceral attacks off on him. As the fight continues, he ends up clipping me with an attack as I land a parry on him. I end up buffering a weird dodge, meaning I can't get to the riposte in time. I kind of stopped trying to parry after this, as it just seems like it may not be worth it. And the rest of phase 2 goes pretty similar to phase 1, just with a slightly different moveset. He even can still shoot his shotgun even though he's not holding it. Once we get him to about 2/3, he enters his final phase, where Father Gascoigne transforms into a beast. When I first played this game, this phase used to get me a lot because I love to dodge backwards, and his attacks love to follow you when you're doing that. However, like I said, if you dodge in towards the boss, he's unable to follow you with his big swings, and you can just land free attacks on him. Overall, I think this phase might actually be the easiest. Right here is a good example of what I'm talking about. He winds up into his big combo, but I simply dodge behind him and then strafe in order to get a free charge R2. If you position better than me, you could probably hit him in the back leading to a visceral attack, which I was trying to do, but just messed up. However, the end result's the same, as I was again able to first try Father Gascoigne. So far, I fought 2 bosses and died to them 0 times. The game was going to need to ramp it up if it was going to get to me. Going forward to the back of the boss arena, we enter the cathedral ward and meet what is very rare in this world, a friendly face.
Oh my goodness!
My man over here is telling us that we should tell anyone who's looking for safety to come here to the Odin Chapel. And confession time, the first time I ever played this game, I just killed him because I thought he was a monster, and I just didn't trust him. Yeah, I know. But I've learned my lesson, so we're not gonna do that this time. Returning to the Hunter's Dream, we pump some more points into strength, then head back into Yharnam to take care of a few things. I start off at Yosefka's clinic, as I know you can get an umbilical cord here, but I'm not sure if you need to do her quest or not. So let's just talk to her just in case. She ends up asking us to send anyone who needs help to her clinic, but I'm a knower, and if you're a knower, you're gonna know why we don't do that. We then comb through the streets of Yharnam one last time, knocking on every door, hoping someone's willing to hear us out.
Who you calling Pinhead?
But it doesn't seem like anyone's willing to listen until we finally knock on a door where someone's asking for safety. We send her to the Odin Chapel and head on our way. When we arrive back at the chapel, we see our Yharnamite has arrived. However, she doesn't seem very thankful. We decide it's best to just leave her be
Come to fucking Birmingham!
and get started clearing out the rest of the cathedral ward. This area is going to act as our hub for the rest of this part of the game, so we're going to get to know this place pretty well. We grab this armor set and see this cool light show. Wonder what that was all about. We then come across this gate which says it needs a special emblem to open it. However, that costs 10,000 souls and you're crazy you think I'm going to spend that much on it right now. So after dying real quick, we head over to the other side of the lantern and come across this guy named Alfred who offers to give us a bunch of lore before coming across another lantern and returning back to the Hunter's Dream in order to level up. We make sure to put a point in the skill this time so we can actually use our Kirk hammer that we bought. And when we return, we see a note on the wall that says hunters are not welcome here.
That sign can't stop me because I can't read.
As we step through the doors, this guy starts yelling at us, telling us that the town is abandoned and in no need of hunters. But I really want to explore it, and like, what's he gonna do? Shoot? Oh god! Oh Jesus! Oh! Find some cover in an old building which is just filled with beastmen before we unfortunately take another death. After grabbing our souls back, we climb a ladder and confront the man with the minigun. He then just point blank blasts us with a shotty, causing us to die again. So I take this opportunity to head back to the Hunter's Dream and upgrade our Kirk hammer to +3. And when we return,
I'm gonna do my own thing.
with that problem taken care of, we head down to the lower parts of Old Yharnam and get jump scared despite knowing it was coming. Oh my fuck. We then open up a shortcut to get back here and then come face to face with our next boss, the Blood-Starved Beast. So you see I immediately whip out the fire paper as the Blood-Starved Beast is a beast, funny enough, and is therefore weak to fire. After dodging the first attack, I land a few blows and see that my damage is actually really good against it with the fire paper. So I'm pretty confident that I might be able to do this on my first try. I was a little anxious about this fight as this boss used to gatekeep me really hard when I first played, and it kind of functions that way in the game. I believe most people can get past Father Gascoigne and the Cleric Beast pretty easily, given enough time, but the Blood-Starved Beast might be the first boss that makes people think, I don't know if I can do this. The Blood-Starved Beast is vulnerable to being parried and hit with charge R2s in the back for visceral attacks, so after dodging through his attack here, I go for a charge R2 and land one. This actually kind of reminded me that this boss could be parried, so I start going for some of those throughout the rest of the fight. As it winds up its next attack, I shoot my pistol and land a parry, scoring some nice riposte damage. At this point in the fight, the Blood-Starved Beast roars and will start doing poison damage on its attacks. This is the part of the fight that will drive new players insane, as you're going to need access to antidotes or else the fight's going to be basically impossible. The longer the fight goes on, the more damage the Blood-Starved Beast poison will do to you. Eventually my fire paper runs out and I'm interested to test my damage without fire. And oh lord, it is not good. We're gonna have to parry this boss. I go for a parry but mess up the timing as he does a grab attack on me and he just one-shots me. So that's a fun way to die. After making the run back, I have what might be the worst attempt of all time, proving the rule that your first attempt is always your best attempt. Fortunately, I didn't even use any flasks or antidotes. I did use a fire paper though, so that sucks. On my third attempt, I get him super low, but I end up using all my antidotes, which is a problem because he ends up poisoning me, and look how much damage his poison does at this point in the fight. I tried desperately just to heal through the poison and get a kill, even using one of my fire papers just to get the few last hits. But it's all for naught as he ends up jumping on me from behind a pillar and just killing me due to poison. On my fourth attempt, I was left with a decision. Go and grind some souls for more antidotes, vials, and bullets, or just go for it. Now, I did remember at this point that you can find 3 antidotes behind the altar in the boss arena, so I said fuck it, we ball. I landed the first parry on the boss and then took his recovery time to go run behind the altar and grab the antidotes. I then had to do some quick menuing to put them on my hotbar and got ready for the rest of the fight. My lack of bullets meant I was going to have to use blood bullets for the fight in order to get enough parries, and since I wasn't at max vials, this meant I couldn't afford to make too many mistakes. After failing a parry on his long sweeping attack, which was a theme for me in the fight, I land the parry on his next attack, but take a look at my bullets and vials and decide I may not have enough to actually do it with parries. So it's time to go for charge R2s. However, due to the forward momentum of the boss on his attacks and my spacing, I just can't seem to land a charge R2 and whiff a bunch in a row.
Me bamba!
I end up finally landing a charge R2, getting him to stagger and landing the visceral. Which ends up kind of acting as a momentum swing for me, as I end up getting his health pretty low from here. After a failed parry attempt, I end up having to use my last antidote, which has me thinking,
oh shit, here we go again.
I dodge an attack, get right up behind him, going for a charge R2, but I just missed the visceral hitbox, and on top of that, I don't realize he's now doing AoE poison. I end up getting poisoned from this, and refuse to let what happened last time happen again. So I just start swinging, and swinging, and swinging, and fortunately this time, I end up getting him. I was finally killed by a boss, hyped, and as a result, you know I had to hit the emote. However, in my hubris and attempt to do shake-off cape, I forget that I'm still poisoned and run out of time before I make it to the lantern to make it back, thus dying again. We put a point in the strength and then take these newly opened doors in the chapel to the Healing Church workshop before immediately getting overwhelmed and dying once again. We make our way down this broken section of the floor and into, that's right folks, a FromSoft platforming section! How many tries will it take? After finally making our way down, we kill a beast guarding the door and start exploring the street, when Bagman over here throws a kick that sends me back to the lantern. Or so I thought. Fuck. Welcome to Yargul, Unseen Village. We're not sure exactly how we got here, but find a note saying madmen toil surreptitiously in rituals to beckon the moon, uncover their secrets, as a choir sings faintly in the distance. Something feels really bad about this place, and I want to get out of here. But first we stumble across a woman in prayer.
Merciful God, help me. In the name of the Healing Church, cleanse us of this horrible dream. Please leave me be. Don't take me, please. Oh, please, dear God.
Yeah, no, I don't like this. I'm gonna leave. But we end up getting stopped by another bagman who basically one-shots us. Oh, and he has a friend. This is getting out of hand.
Now there are two of them.
Oh well, at least after this loading screen, we'll be back at our last lantern and everything will... Oh no. Yeah, it looks like we're stuck here until we find another lantern. We go ahead and look for one, but come across another two bagmen. We're able to get by them this time with some good parries. And come across what looks to be a boss arena. I don't really want to fight one right now, so I test a theory of mine and try the Bold Hunter's Mark out to see if it takes us back to the dream.
Hey, Freak Joe! You're going nowhere!
Yeah, that didn't work. We try to get past the bagmen again, but just utterly fail, before finally finding the lantern just past them. That was it. The lack of damage we were doing against the blood-starved beast inspired me to go ahead and pick up a saw cleaver and upgrade it to +3, and then return to the streets of the lower cathedral ward before opening up one of the many locked gates here. We end up taking a few deaths along the way, but our exploration allows us to find someone else to send back to the chapel. We then stumble across a note that says the Watchman of Bergenworth guards the gate with a password, the sacred adage of the Grand Cathedral. I have no idea what that means, but I don't like it. We then go ahead and open up another gate, which turned out to be the one that cost 10,000 souls to open up, essentially giving us a 10 grand profit. I then go ahead and decide to do some chalice dungeons, but for the sake of this video's length, I'm going to cut them out of this, as they're not really that interesting, and
I'm tired, boss.
if you've made it this far in the video, please drop a like. I spent a long time working on it and I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. Plus, I promise you, you're not missing anything in the chalice dungeons. So after coming back from the chalice dungeons, we see that the lady we told to come to the chapel has actually arrived.
Excuse me? Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy?
She seems
Sorry.
nice.
Mommy?
She even offers to let us drink some of her blood. We love that. Her blood vial heals us and gives us a temporary boost of stamina, so call me Nosferatu because I'm feeling pretty thirsty. So after running past a bunch of dudes with frenzy sticks, we get to the doors of the main cathedral. Upon entering, we see a woman in prayer. As I cautiously approach her, another cutscene starts. So to save you from having to listen to too much glitchy audio, my first attempt was alright, but ultimately fruitless. However, I used all my vials, and without access to the... I was gonna have to go grind for some. After a little bit of farming, I make a brief pit stop to talk to Eileen, and by the time I had enough vials to fight her, my audio had sorted itself out, which is very good for me. I throw an oil pot at her, and equip my saw cleaver with fire paper. I'm aiming to do maximal damage, and as you can see, the output is great. I back up and heal, and dodge one of her attacks, leading to a punish window on her head. After just 2 combos, I'm able to lower her health by a significant amount of HP. I continue to dodge her attacks, scoring hits whenever I can, and so far it's working out as I'm able to get her into a few micro stagger states, leading to even more extra damage. But micro staggers aren't the goal. I want to get a full knockdown on her so I can get a free visceral attack. After dodging her attack here, I score a charge R2 on her, leading to another micro stagger. I use the opportunity to go for even more damage and an even bigger combo. This ends up causing her to actually get knocked down. However, I'm in such a bad position for this visceral attack that I totally miss it. However, she gets knocked down again after another R1 attack, causing me to get that visceral attack after all. I've already taken out over half her HP, and I'm feeling super confident about the fight. However, Amelia starts doing her bullshit move next where she heals herself, and I can't for the life of me remember how I'm supposed to stop it. So I just run up and start hitting her to try and reduce the healing. And notice that since my fire paper ran out, my damage wasn't as high as I thought it was going to be for scoring that many hits. I start testing out the Kirk hammer and see that a single hit of the Kirk hammer actually does more damage, so I start trying to use it. However, it's not long before I end up making a mistake and eating a full combo from Amelia, causing me to take my second death to the fight. On my third attempt, I come in with the Kirk hammer. I dodge her first attack and start swinging. However, I notice that it swings a lot slower, so as a result, I can't get as many hits in. And in fact, I even get punished for one of them. I back up to heal and start thinking about my options. I'm having second thoughts about the Kirk hammer, so I go back to the saw cleaver. After dodging her attack, I realize the saw cleaver swings faster than the Kirk hammer, so even though it might have a lower damage per swing, its overall damage output is going to be way better. A charge R2 causes her to micro stagger, and I end up getting a pretty chunky combo off of it. It's just a shame I don't have any more fire paper. However, despite the damage, about halfway through the fight, I end up misjudging one of her attacks and end up taking a huge amount of damage from it. On attempt number 4, things are going pretty well, but I'm starting to run out of blood vials. My offense is functioning, but I can't afford to mess up this attempt because if I do, I'm probably going to have to go farm more blood vials, and I really don't want to do that. She then whiffs a few attacks on me, opening up a good window for me to get a few hits in on her. Things are looking pretty good for me. I might be able to do this. Things are going so good that I get super greedy, and I love it. But I then fail to dodge a side-swiping attack, which causes me to die, and I have a decision to make. With only 9 blood vials left to my name, it's probably advisable to go farm, but I ain't scared. So I charge back into the arena and immediately eat the first attack she throws at me. So this is going pretty well. I try to make sure to pay extra attention to dodge into the direction her sideswiping attacks are coming from, and it goes alright for the most part, but I'm still making a lot of stupid mistakes like the one right here, which causes me to use way too many vials. Once the fight's about half over, I'm able to get 2 charge 2s in a row off on her, which leads to a stagger into a riposte. The only problem is I've used so many vials that now I only have 2 left. I really cannot afford to make any more mistakes. I take a few extra hits on the way out as she recovers from the visceral attack, and I back up into neutral as I'm unsure of what she's going to do next. But I do take a few swings here and there. I'm feeling pretty nervous about the fight as I don't want to blow it, and the fight starts to slow down for a little bit as I'm really only willing to take a few swings. I dodge through a few attacks, but don't line up in a position where I'm able to retaliate. As she winds up her next attack, I misjudge the follow-up for it and end up taking a hit. I try to recover as much HP as I can using the ride mechanic. However, my HP is still so low that I'm afraid of being one-shot, so I'm forced to use one of my 2 remaining vials. I'm guessing that she could probably hit me about 3 more times before I'm forced to go down. It's time to lock in. I charge in there and get a running attack, followed up by a charge R2, but she punishes my charge R2. She then jumps away, so I'm unable to regain any health using the rally mechanic, meaning again, I'm forced to use my last vial. As I use my last vial, I'm pretty sure this runs over when I dodge through one of her attacks and go for a punish and get her to stagger. This is great. I go for the visceral attack and I see the damage, and holy crap, her health is so low. I'm so greedy for this. I just start swinging on her head when she's in recovery, and she dies. She died! Amelia was the first boss that made me go and farm blood vials. Maybe my time of Elden Ring hasn't prepared me for everything, but I've still yet to have a boss take hours and hours and hours. Following my victory, I felt that my health and damage were kind of low, so I go ahead and pump points into vitality and strength. I return to the Cathedral Ward and head back towards Yharnam. When I reach Father Gascoigne's boss arena, I'm attacked by some random hunter. I dodge his first attack and then parry his second attack when suddenly Eileen steps in? Eileen helps out, but I end up getting low, and as I step back to heal, he just glocks me. On the run back, I get him super low, but unfortunately, Eileen ends up dying during the fight. So that sucks. Sure hope this tragedy doesn't grant me any visions.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.
Damn it. I go right from the cathedral and come across another NPC hunter. While we're fighting, someone else starts shooting at me, so I try to quickly finish her off as not to get overwhelmed. I finish the first one off and turn my attention to the next guy. But let me tell you something, this guy is such a motherfucking... he just shoots a shotgun all day. We end up dying to him one more time before fucking off and deciding to go grab something we missed earlier. If you come into the platforming section of the healing church and drop down here, you'll land on a ledge. And if you drop down another level, and don't forget to heal, you can open these doors, which should lead you somewhere familiar. This old abandoned workshop looks exactly like the hunter's dream and allows you to find a set of doll clothes, as well as 1/3 of the umbilical cord, which we're gonna need to fight the moon presence at the end of the game. We come across Alfred, who's just chilling out here with a dead body. That's not suspicious at all. We have a new option here, and we ask him about the Vile Bloods, to which he tells us he's not a fan of them, and he's looking for the path to Cainhurst Castle. Moving on from Alfred, we come across a set of doors where a man's asking for the password. Password. Oh, that vision. That's right. Fear the old blood. As the doors open, the one thing we find standing behind it is a skeleton. So who was asking the questions? Oh, we can talk to it? Maybe that'll have some answers. Oh, well, thanks for that. Following the steps down further, we come into the Forbidden Woods. We come across a lantern and start clearing our way through the rest of the woods. It's pretty dense with enemies, and as a result, we end up dying 3 times. Fortunately, though, we picked up our blood echoes each time, so we farmed a pretty good amount of souls and pick up Ludwig's Holy Blade. However, we have to put 2 points into skill to use it, and then upgrade that bad boy to +5. The Forbidden Woods was kind of fucking me up, so I returned to the Cathedral Ward as I remembered that there was a place I hadn't gone yet. But first, we gotta take a depth to the Frenzy Lads. Running off to the left side of the Cathedral Ward, we stumble across a graveyard. We get absolutely gatted to death before taking our revenge and then clearing the area out. Fighting through whatever the hell these things are, we come across Hemwick Charnel Lane. This place is filled with these midsummer-esque laughing ladies who we're forced to fight through before meeting someone in a shack who tells us that there's a fun surprise waiting for us to the right of the cathedral. Yeah, I just said that. After we clear the area out, we enter a suspiciously large room and get ready to fight our next boss, the Witch of Hemwick, who is not this thing. So fun fact about the thing I'm killing right here, it only spawns if you have more than 1 insight, and you know, since you gain an insight when you see bosses, it's kind of hard to do it your first try. But we eventually stumble across the witch. I get behind the witch and go for a charge R2, which staggers her and allows me to get a visceral attack off on her. Now, she just gets up right in front of me with her back still pointed towards me, so I switch to my heavy.
It's free real estate.
And go for yet another charge R2, which staggers her again, and I get another visceral attack, and she's already 2/3 dead. It's gonna be an easy fight. I go for a 3rd stagger, but unfortunately I'm not able to get it. She leaves herself open to 1 more combo though, so I go ahead and take the opportunity to get as many swings in as I can before turning my attention to the rest of the ads. She's already down to 1 hit, so I'm feeling pretty confident about this. I finish off the ads and go for a heal before taking the final hit on the witch, which, surprise, surprise, is not the end of the fight. As many more ads spawn, it's revealed that there's another witch here, and she's got a full health bar. Well, thankfully I took 1 of them out. I don't have to deal with 2. Psych! Oh, god damn it! So after you take out 1 of the witches, you'll see this glowing lamp which reveals 1 of their positions. However, you'll have to deal with more aggressive attacks from the witches themselves, as well as 3 ads. I turned my attention to dealing with these guys, but we're having a pretty close call. Stop. I clear them out and then go for some damage on the witch. When in my hubris, I'm stunned by some spell and grabbed from behind, taken to within an inch of my life.
Help! Help! Help me!
I I roll away and heal, but my lack of respect for this fight is showing as I end up getting grabbed again and then dying to an AoE explosion. On the run back, I realized I didn't finish opening up the entire shortcut back to the boss arena, so I go back to do so while running past all the enemies, which turns out to be a mistake as they end up ganking up on me and I end up dying. Don't die. I then get lost on the run back, which causes the same thing to happen again, when I decide I might need to actually clear my way to the arena. On the second attempt, I roll behind me and get caught by the AoE bullshit again. Then once again, I die on the run back, before finally making it there a third time. Now this might be the worst attempt of them all, as I was feeling pretty tilted from all the run back deaths, and as a result, I didn't even get through the first health bar. Now, I wasn't about to get bullied by the witches of Hemwick, so I started to fight off-right with a backstab into a critical. I decided at this attempt it was probably largely useless to deal with the ads, and they really weren't that big a threat. So my full attention was on speedrunning through the witches. As I start wailing on a witch here, I see the health bar isn't moving, so I assume it must be the other witch. This is probably a good thing in the fight, as once you kill one of them, they become way more aggressive and start using more magic. As I finish off one of the witches, I spot a lantern in the distance, which lets me know the other witch is over there. I start to attack her and notice that she has almost no health left. This is a huge relief for me because this fight's been super annoying and I'm kind of tilted at it. So once I get the last hit here, I'll let out a big sigh and don't even bother to shake off Kate. This fight doesn't deserve it. Can someone please tell me why the boss up with just a bunch of ads is the hardest? I've taken my health to 25, which is what I thought the soft cap was. Turns out it's 30. So from here on out, I put levels into strength until I get that to 25. So I head back to the Forbidden Woods and take an elevator shortcut that I opened up down to the snake area before promptly dying to the very first guy I see. Now, fun fact, I'm terrified of snakes in real life, so this part of the game just sucks for me, but it doesn't stop me from clearing out all the enemies to grab all the items and get some more souls. Thankfully though, it's not all snakes, as we stumble across a giant pig, who we fist. As we stumble across the boss arena, I realize I have 30,000 souls and I haven't opened up any kind of shortcut through the snake area. Also, I don't really know how to get back here if I die in the fight, so I turned back for a little bit. However, my additional exploration turned out to be useless, so I just headed back and started my fight with the Shadow of Yharnam. Now this is a triple boss fight, but it's actually not that bad, as each one has a different AI with a different playstyle. One of them is a pretty aggressive melee attacker, one of them prefers to keep their distance using range attacks, and I can't really tell about the third one. I don't know, mid-range I guess? Now as you can see, this is a parryable boss, but I also only have 2 bullets left, so parrying probably won't be a big part of my strategy this attempt. Now I kind of had a hard time finding an opening in this fight, and I felt like I was just running around the whole time. As a result, I ended up getting greedy and trying to force an opening, and thus getting punished for it, dying, causing me to have to do the longest run back I've had to do yet. So when we get back to the fight, we have 20 bullets, so I fully intend on parrying the boss, and oh my god, the katana guy is not having a good time.
Hey pal. You just blowing from Stupid Town?
After landing the parry and getting a visceral, we take him down to about a third HP. We've also managed to get the ranged one down to about 2/3, so the fight's going pretty well. However, splitting your aggro like this is a mistake that I'll find out about later, as once the total HP threshold of all 3 shadows hits a certain point, they'll enter a second phase where they become more snaky, I guess, which happens here, causing me to take psychic damage due to my fear of snakes. We land a really good combo here on Candleboy, and then transition our attack into a combo on the Katana Lad, which ends up bringing him down to the most magic of pixels I have ever seen. I have to take him out now, so I just say fuck it. And to my surprise, the shot actually works and kills him. I spend a while just looking for an opening when Candleboy leaves himself open for a punish, and I take advantage of it and take him out. This leaves only the ranged guy, who's kind of a pushover all by himself. In his desperation, he goes for a melee, which I easily dodged, and land 3 attacks on him. Without his friends, it's really easy to land these punishes, and after dodging his fireball, I try to get creative and go for a transform attack, which ends up whiffing, but I land the next 2 R1s, winning the fight on my second try. You may have noticed by now that I've been dying a lot more, but not really much more to the bosses. Elden Ring bosses would usually kick my ass for at least an hour, but these guys have just been a few tries. The world, however, oh my god, it is brutal. Anyways, I wonder what that fun surprise to the right of the church was.
Oh, Amygdala. Oh, Amygdala. Have mercy on the poor bastard.
God damn it, not again. We're transported to what looks like a library and stumble across a lecture theater key. I don't really know what this place is, but there is a non-hostile NPC here, so maybe they'll have some answers.
Are your feet as fat as your wits? Oh, cease this dithering. Take the plunge.
Well, he hasn't let us wrong yet. Let's just see where these doors go. Oh god damn it! I don't know what the hell a Nightmare Frontier is, but I don't like it. Start swinging on the first enemy I see, and I'm not doing a lot of damage.
I don't think I'm supposed to be here, bro.
Finish that monstrosity off, we're jumped by 2 more hunters. Now, while hunter fights aren't my forte, we're able to finish off at least one of them via a combination of visceral attacks and just madly swinging our sword around before suddenly getting non-flashbacks.
That guy's got my build when I first played. Stop it!
After claiming victory and celebrating, we continue to explore the Nightmare Frontier when somehow this boulder hits us. Yeah, it turns out this game actually can be kind of tough. Old school tough. We come across what will be the shortcut eventually, and I make a very poor decision.
Fuck it, we ball.
Continuing to explore, we drop down a cliff into some green goo and discover...
Oh, it's poison.
Yep, that's right, folks. The part of the game where you get to walk slow and take dot. Isn't that fun? But the fun doesn't end there, because after a death by boulder gank, we lose those souls permanently by dying to some eldritch abomination. But wait, there's more. After making it through the poison swamp, you get to deal with one of these bad boys.
Oh.
And what's your reward for making it through literal hell, you might ask? Yeah, so we gotta fight an Amygdala. Now this thing's massive, which usually means you can get underneath them and just smack their feet. I try to do so by dodging inwards, but just get smacked by his first attack. After taking a few blood vials, he whiffs an attack and I run in there, ready to do some damage. Unfortunately though, when I actually hit him, the damage number doesn't look that great to me. I mean, you tell me, how's this damage look to you? After trying to swing on him one more time with the alternate form of my weapon, I realized that I had to hit his head. Fortunately for me though, the two-handed version of this weapon has an overhead swing on its L2. So after doing it, I smack his head and do a good amount of damage. The only problem is, he's so tall that you can only hit his head during certain windows after an attack. Meaning you have to be in the correct position too. And since I've never fought him before, I have no idea when those windows are or where I should be standing. We whiff an attack, and as a result, we get smacked by his Medeer laser, bringing us to within a pixel of our life. This is plenty of time for us to get some vials in, but it ends up not mattering as we died through one of his sweeping attacks, giving us our first death of the fight. We ended up running out of vials during the fight, so we go back to farm some, however we ended up taking a death. Since we lost all our souls, we end up using some cold blood dues and using those to buy some. We then return to the boss arena, popping a bolt paper, and run into the fight avoiding a laser. Now we whiff our first attack on his head, however we're able to land a bunch of other attacks later on, and we're able to get him to stagger. However, unlike other bosses, we're not able to take a visceral attack on him, and instead just get a couple free R1 swings off on him. This causes him to transition into phase 2, in which he becomes much more aggressive. He starts slamming the ground, and I roll away, not realizing that this is actually a good opportunity to hit him.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, he put his head down.
I charge in there and smack his hand, doing a good amount of damage, but not as much as I would have for his head. Rolling away, he starts slamming the ground again, and I realize that I could probably just run away and smack his head every now and then. This gets me pretty far in the fight as he transitions into phase 3, where the boss screams a battle cry and then rips his arms off. Like, what?
Oh, he just ripped his arms off?
He's more aggressive in this phase than he is anywhere else in the fight, and on top of that, it's harder to hit his head than any other phase. I spend most of this phase just doing the roly-poly around him, unable to get any hits in, when after dodging one of his attacks, I finally find an opening to smack his head. His health bar is probably at about 1 hit left, but it's gonna be a battle to get that last hit. He's throwing everything he can at me, and I just cannot find the last opening. I end up taking a few hits, and realize my vial count is super low. I already used all my cold blood dues to buy vials, so if I die now, I'm gonna have to actually go and farm them. I dodge to his laser attack and run in looking for an opening, but then get smacked twice by a side swipe. I have no more vials and I have 1 hit left. Rolling in twice, I take a swing and smack his leg, doing very minimal damage. I start freaking out. I'm underneath the boss, I take a swing and whiff on his head. He jumps up into the air and just ground pounds me. Nightmare. After farming for some vials, I return to the boss arena, ready to settle the score. However, Amygdala has other plans for me, as I once again give him the phase 3, which is just kicking my ass. He beats me again. I swear to God, if I have to farm for vials twice, I'm gonna lose it. My next attempt starts off pretty well, as I'm able to avoid his first attack and land 2 hits on his head. I take my swings, and when I land my next attack, luckily for me, he staggers. Now, since I can't land a visceral attack, I go for a charge R2, which just does a crap ton of damage anyways, which then sends him straight into phase 2. I resume my normal phase 2 strategy of just backing up and trying to get hits whenever I can, which continues to be effective. However, I want to test something out during this phase because I've been having so much trouble during phase 3 just getting the last few hits that now would be a good time to test out throwing Molotovs or using Bone Marrow Ash. As phase 2 winds down, I switch sword forms into the one-handed version, load up on Bone Marrow Ash, and take a shot, which totally misses. I resort to trying to use Molotovs and just whiff this one and this one, glad I decided to practice, before realizing I have to run in closer if I'm going to hit his head with it. I'm really desperate to see the damage, so I throw a Molotov here and it looks alright. However, he then then transitions into phase 3, so now the real fight's gonna start. After the boss rips his arms off, he unleashes his Medeer laser again, which I finally learned how to dodge. He then swipes at me with his arms, which I haven't learned how to dodge, causing me to back up and miss a punish opportunity on his head. He slams the ground and puts his head in a hittable position, but I'm just so far away I miss. Observing the boss and backing up, I start to reevaluate my game plan. I go for a heal and check my vials and realize I've used about half of them already. I dodge to another laser attack and go for a charge R2 for some reason, which obviously misses. It was a greedy move and he punishes me for it with 2 swipes straight to the dome. I use another vial and watch him do another laser attack. Man, he is really loving to hit that and I can't figure out how to punish it. However, here I come through a breakthrough that if I dodge twice, I can smack his head when he does the laser. After another laser attack, I spag his head and see that he's finally one hit. This is what I trained for. This is what I brought the Molotovs for. I throw one and I miss. I don't know what I'm doing here. I throw another and I miss again. Why am I doing this? What is wrong with me? Please don't blow this. If I lose the fight now, I'm gonna have to farm vials. As he slams me again, I throw a Molotov and totally miss again. I only have 6 more vials and 3 more Molotov. However, I throw a Molotov and I smail his head with it, finally ending the fight. Man, Amandala himself wasn't that bad. However, the fact that I'm gonna have to farm vials if it takes me more than like 2 attempts at a boss is super annoying. But I'm having a blast with the game so far. Returning to the Hunter's Dream, I take my strength up to the soft cap of 25 and continue on past the Shadows of Yharnam Lantern, making it to Bergenworth. This is a place I've heard a lot about, so maybe I can finally get some answers as to what's going on. The area is filled with these weird bug things, so I don't have too much of a problem dealing with as I land a visceral attack here. And there's also home to this scary motherfucker who grabs me and does this.
Suction, 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 suction.
Taking away 2 of my insight. As I continue to fight my way through Bergenworth, a fireball gets shot at me, which turns out to come from this gaping dragon looking wannabe. After dealing with that, I head inside and see another hunter. Well, let's see what they got. Oh shit, what the fuck are you doing? Stop, 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 stop! Oh god, please, I'm stuck on the couch. Please don't. Well, it's fine. Surely I'll get him on round 2. Fortunately, we win the fight on round 3. And then head out onto this balcony, where this old guy's telling us to jump, I guess? I mean, I got nothing better to do, so may as well. What the hell is that? Whatever it is, it's probably an enemy, so I'll just hit it and go from there.
Oh, spiders! Spiders! Get them off me! Get them off me! Get them off me!
Welcome to Rom, the vacuous spider. Now, the Rom fight itself isn't so hard, but more so an exercise in crowd control, as you can easily deal with the fight by taking out all the spiders that he spawns, and then dealing with Rom. Rom is pretty much completely passive during phase 1 of the fight, so after I clear out the spiders, I go up to Rom and smack him a few times, thus starting phase 2, where Rom teleports away and spawns even more spiders. However, more importantly, Rom will also now be aggressive. As I approach Rom and his underlings, I start to attack the spiders, but Rom shoots a bunch of ice crystals at me, which do a bunch of damage. I don't realize it yet, but it's going to be important for Rom on camera the entire fight, that way you can dodge this stuff. As again, I get smacked by an ice crystal attack. I continue to ignore Rom, however, and just focus my attention on all the spiders, which is going to be a mistake that you'll soon see. As I'm clearing out the spiders, I notice that Rom's winding up an attack. I try to sprint away so I can dodge it, however, the sprint never comes out, and I'm just walking, and I end up getting one shot by his attack. On my second attempt, I clear phase 1 very easily and attempt to approach Rom for phase 2. However, as I approach, Rom throws more ice at me and I just fail to dodge it. I run in, grab my souls, and pop a healing vial, but one of the spiders nails me as I'm healing, meaning I die again. On attempt number 3, I again very easily clear phase 1 and find an opening on Rom during phase 2. It only takes a few hits to get him to transition into phase 3, so I focus my attention on clearing the rest of the spiders out. As phase 3 starts, I begin by clearing out most of the ads, and once I clear out the final one, my full attention can be given to Rom. As I go for an attack on Rom, he slams the ground and I end up eating it. I came into this fight with a pretty low amount of vials, so I have to pop my last one in order to not die. It'd be pretty tough to lose the fight at this point, so I'm trying to lock in. Every time I take a swing at Rom, I end up just backing up in order to not take more damage, and I pop a bolt paper here in order to maximize my damage output. I'm desperately searching for an opening on Rom. However, it's hard to find an opportunity to take more than one swing. However, Rom rolls onto his back here and I load up a charged R2 and I end up getting a combo that finishes him off. Again, for some reason, these boss fights seem to be way harder when there's a bunch of ads. Now, the Rom fight is a pretty major turning point in the game. As blood rains down around me, I look around and notice a woman off in the distance. I slowly approach her and a cutscene begins to play. Oh, what have we done? But the true implication of our actions will have to wait, as first we have some unfinished business in the Forbidden Woods. We head through this path that leads to yet another poison swamp before ascending a couple of ladders.
What a thrill.
And emerging somewhere familiar. The ladder dumps us off right outside of Yosefka's clinic, and we can actually open the door to the room where she was talking to us from. Hey, Yosef, wait, who's that? What the hell is that? We go ahead and kill it, and when we search the body, it drops Yosefka's blood vial? What the hell is that all about? As we continue our exploration of the clinic, we come across a woman laid out on a table. I guess this must be Yosefka, so what's she have to say?
God, I'm nauseous. Have you felt this? It's progressing. I can see things. I knew it. I'm different. I'm no beast. Oh, God, it feels awful. But it proves that I'm chosen.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. We go ahead and kill her. And see that she drops an item, which turns out to be another piece of the umbilical cord that we're gonna need. 2 down, 1 to go. Anyways, this place gives me the creeps. I'm out of here. We go back to where we were dumped off after killing Rom earlier, and see that takes us back to Yargul. The Yharnamites here are, interesting, and it looks like this place is just swarming with Abindalos.
Dude, they're fucking everywhere. What the shit?
We take a quick death as we attempt to clear our way through Yargul. Before stumbling across a note, it says the Mensis ritual must be stopped, lest we all become beasts. Unsure as to what a Mensis ritual is, we eat a laser real quick before finally coming across another lantern. Now, little did I know I'd be at this lantern for a little bit, as just in front of us, there's 3 hunters, and this fight sucks. I try to parry them, but the sheer number of hunters I'm fighting is overwhelming me, and as a result, I take multiple deaths. Before we're finally able to take out the last hunter, who thank God they don't respawn.
You better drop 20 blood vials or I'm gonna be pissed.
Continuing to explore through Yahar'gul, we take a quick death to this monstrosity before remembering that we skipped over a boss in Yahar'gul earlier and going to fight it, thus beginning our fight with Dark Beast Parl. We load up a charge R2 but get blown up by an electricity blast as we go back to heal. Parl lets out a huge scream and swipes at us as the fight really begins. Parl's attacks come out really fast and he's super mobile, so I ended up whiffing most of my attacks on him, making this first attempt mostly a learning attempt. I'm able to get Parl to about half HP, but I've used most of my vials just trying to learn his attack patterns, and I end up eating a combo here. As I dodge the last hit of his combo, I take a swipe at him and I land it, however he armors through the rest of it, and I end up dying, making my first attempt unsuccessful. Coming back for attempt number 2, I light up a fire paper as Dark Beast Parl is a beast, so he should take more damage from this. However, I eat his first 2 attacks, mostly due to my own arrogance. As I recover from the attack, I pop a healing vial and look for an opening on the Dark Beast. As I smack him a few times, he unelectrifies and I get a few free hits on him. I've done a crap ton of damage to him already, so I feel like I should be able to win this fight, even with the low amount of vials that I have. As I take a swipe on the way out, I pop another vial and look to get more damage off on Parl. I load up a charged R2 and just barely miss it. However, I'm not done yet as I smack him with an R1 getting him into a stagger state and I take a visceral attack off on him. He's down to 2/3 HP already. I throw a Molotov just for the hell of it and look to continue my aggressive onslaught onto the Dark Beast. He swipes at me but misses. I swipe at him and I miss. We're going back and forth as he loads up his electricity. I load up an R2 and nail him, unelectrifying him and taking out a ton of his HP. I go for some free extra credit hits and I end up nailing him a few times. Dark Beast is freaking out. He staggers down to the floor and I nail him again, ending the fight. Rather quickly this time. See what I mean? No ads, easy fight. After our victory against Parl, we go level up, and as we've hit the soft cap of vitality and strength now, we go ahead and level our skill. However, we're not done fighting bosses yet as we approach another arena and a cutscene begins to play. Ah yes, the One Reborn. A fight in which a bunch of ladies surrounding the arena will just shoot random stuff at you unless you go take them out. So we're gonna do that first. Dealing with the last bell ringing lady, we head back down to the arena to deal with the boss itself. Now I don't have a ton to talk about in this fight, as once I get hit by him here, I end up on his side and just kind of hang out here for the rest of the fight. His turn speed is low enough that he can't rotate to find me as long as I keep strafing, so I lined up a charge R2 and just nail him. I'm able to do this a bunch of times and just get a bunch of free hits off on him, as I get a stagger, and I just keep going for the charge R2 as I not mess up the rhythm I'm in. We pretty much just rinse and repeat this strategy throughout the entire fight, as I'm able to take him down to about an 1/8 of an HP, and eventually take him down to just one combo left. He does this big AoE, but I just heal with blood vials, and run back in and nail him for triple R1 combo. Now, I think he dies here, however, he's not dead, as I can tell by the lock-on, so I hit him one more time and take the victory there. I did this boss in one try, and he really wasn't much of a challenge at all. So, hopefully there'll be some more challenging bosses coming up. As we approach this mummified corpse after the boss fight, we go ahead and touch it for some reason, and it ends up teleporting us somewhere familiar. We awaken in the lecture building, and past this point is pretty much the end of the game, and we got some unfinished business to take care of. So we have a few things to do first. Heading back to the witch's abode, we take out the enemies in front of a monument, and as we approach it, a cutscene begins to play. Welcome to Cainhurst Castle, home of the Vile Bloods. This area is full of new enemy types, as you can see from this grotesque mosquito-looking thing I'm fighting. And upon entering the castle, we're greeted to the sobs of the workers as we continue to press on. Approaching an item, we end up getting jump scared by a bunch of wraiths. Holy fuck! Before something enrages them, and they just scream at us. We have a pretty close call of death when they start stunning us, and we end up getting grabbed from behind, taking a ton of damage. However, we're just able to escape. After that close call, we're able to make it up onto a roof and do some parkour in order to make it to the next area. As we approach a very foreboding gate, I have one thought.
Oh no, this run back is gonna be ass, bro.
See, I haven't managed to find a shortcut, so if I die, I'm gonna have to run all the way back through Castle Cainhurst. And I have 37,000 souls. Better not die, idiot. As we approach the arena, we get another cutscene. This is Martyr Logarius, and he spends his entire first phase just standing way away from you, casting spells. fun. I switched to my one-handed sword form because I think I'm going to try and parry him this fight. However, he doesn't have a lot of openings to actually parry during phase 1, which I end up figuring out later. I finally close the distance and go in for a few swings, but I'm only able to get one before he does his get off me move and I have to back up again. I'm desperately looking for a parry, as you can see here, so I just shoot, interrupting one of his attacks but not getting the parry. I dash through another one of his range moves and land a few hits, but I'm not doing a lot of damage to him, and I've used a lot of vials just getting through Gascoigne itself. I'm not very confident about this attempt, but it's important to get my licks in. Eventually I realize I'm probably not going to get any parries, so I switch sword forms into the two-handed version and go for a charged R2. However, I get punished for my charged R2, and then I end up eating another one of his range moves. His zoning is really getting to me, and I have to figure out a way to get in and deal some damage. Eventually I sprint through and land a 3-hit combo on him, which actually does a good amount of damage. However, I get punished for it and have to pop a few more vials. I don't have very many left, so I'm going to have to actually make use of some other things. I throw a pebble at Logarius because funny, and then sprint in, dodging one of his range moves. Fortunately, I'm able to land the attacks off of it, as I land another 3 hits, removing about a quarter of his HP. At this point, Logarius starts charging his scythe, and I try to charge an R2 on him, which I land. However, he explodes, dealing more damage to me. As I only have 3 vials, this probably wasn't worth it. Logarius switches phases at this point into a much more aggressive melee attacking form. He jumps up into the air and I take a hit, but I use this as a learning opportunity. As I dodge his next attack, he jumps up into the air again and I go for a parry. I land it, however I dodge as I'm not confident about the parry, so I miss the visceral attack. But once again, Logarius rises into the air and gets parried. This time I'm confident and land the visceral attack, taking him down to half HP. I only have 1 more vial after I pop this one, so it's probably going to take a miracle to actually win this fight. I dodge through one of his attacks and land a sword swing, and then land another parry. However, again, I'm not confident and dodge backwards, missing the visceral attack follow-up. I'm down to half HP in 1 vial, so I pop my last one, but take quite a few swings from Logarius on the way out, as I end up dropping to about a quarter of my total HP. I'm desperate at this point to get any kind of win, so I swing at Logarius, he rises in the air and I take a shot at him, but it misses. I take multiple shots actually, and they both miss. Logarius ends up punching me at the end, causing me to die, and have to make a terrible run back. However, my second attempt was nowhere near as good as my first attempt, as I try to back away from his dodge attack and I just jump off the map. Oops. Attempt number 3 starts off alright, as I'm able to run in there and get an attack, but he nails me with his get off me, which kind of sets a tone as I end up just getting hit by too many moves that I normally would be able to dodge. By the time I get into the phase transition, I'm down to 9 vials, and he still has a ton of HP, so I'm not feeling super great. I throw another pebble, fuck you, and brace myself for his onslaught during phase 2. I switch sword forms to the parry version, however I'm not able to land the parries that I was able to earlier. Eventually Logarius puts down his cloud of swords, which just shoot at you, and I go for another parry, which again fails, and then attempt to take cover from the cloud of swords that are shooting at me. As I once again fail to parry Logarius, thanks for getting desperate. I take an attack from Logarius, and eventually the swords actually end up nailing me, causing me to go into hit stun and get comboed by Logarius, causing me to die yet again. On the way back to Logarius, I make a critical error, to which my friends are sure to give me a bunch of shit for. Which is followed up by a swift 4th and 5th attempt at Logarius. I enter attempt number 6 with only 11 vials, and a clear goal in mind. As it is not taking me this many attempts on a boss yet, I was not going to let Logarius get away with this. As I take Logarius to the phase transition, I take a few extra credit swings before backing up as to not get hit by his big AoE explosion. As I consider my options, I decide I'm going to switch to my one-handed form of the sword so I can go for parries during this phase. He rises up in the air and I take a shot, but it misses, causing me to miss the parry. He does it again, and I miss the parry again. However, he misses me, so I get a few swings in before he rises into the air again. I don't know why the parry isn't working out for me anymore, but it's really starting to piss me off. Logarius goes for another jumping attack, but I duck behind a pillar while I pop a vial to avoid it, and we trade a few blows. I back off to observe the boss and see him put down his cloud of sword move. I switch my target to the sword he put down so I can remove it. However, he nails me while I'm doing this twice. As a result, I have to back up and heal. I came into this fight with a pretty low amount of vials, so I'm already down to 8. Annoyed with the one-handed form of the sword because my parries weren't working out, I switch to two-handed version, and I go for a charged R2. I have enough time to fully land the charged R2, however, Logarius doesn't stagger and he nails me. I have a very close call with death here, as I'm just barely able to get my vial off before Logarius smacks me again. Again, I'm super low, so I back up and pop a few vials. However, as I backed off, Logarius put down another sword cloud. This is going to be really annoying to deal with, so I just go over and try to target it again. I'm down to 5 vials, but this is also one of the best attempts at Logarius I've had yet. As he rises into the air, I whiff my swing and just barely manage to not jump off the map. I get aggressive onto Logarius, taking a swing in neutral, but he punishes me for it, taking away about half of my HP. As I attempt to rally back some HP, he ducks behind a pillar and does another sword sword cloud. He ends up nailing me with the AoE that he creates, and it's in such a bad position that I'm not gonna be able to get there this time. So I ignore sword cloud and just try to swing on Logarius, but he keeps jumping into the air like a crazy person, so I can't hit him. Down to 4 vials, I'm desperate to win this fight. I start dodging through Logarius' combo and hit him in the back with a couple R1s. As he backs off, he takes another swing at me, to which I repeat the same pattern. If I can continue this, I'll definitely be able to win. However, the sword cloud is gonna prove to be annoying. He ends up hitting me and I just barely manage to survive again. I pop another vial, down to 3. I dodge through his attack and I hit him, to which he staggers, but unfortunately I'm in mid-combo so I don't get the visceral attack. Logarius' health is so low that I'm gonna greed for this. I dodge through his attack and hit him twice, causing him to die. Oh my god, that was... Ooh! Well, I wanted a tough fight. Thank god I finally got one. I bet that'll probably be the hardest fight in the game. Following that fight, we put on the crown Logarius gave us, and then swiftly run over to his throne, revealing a cool little secret that you can only see with the crown on. As we head inside, we see that this is actually home of the Queen of the Vile Bloods.
I am Annalise, Queen of Castle Cainhurst. What is it thou art in search of?
We go ahead and swear an oath to the Vile Bloods.
Well. An odd hunter thou art indeed.
And then grab this unopened summon to the right over here. You know who would love this? Alfred. We should give it to him. When we approach Alfred, we hand him the unopened letter, and he seems pretty thankful for it.
Aha! Is that the sigil of Cainhurst? Praise the good blood, and let us cleanse these tarnished streets.
Tarnished? We say our goodbyes to Alfred, and then head back to Cainhurst Castle to check out what's going on there. Oh, Alfred's here. What's going... Oh no. Alfred seems quite pleased with himself.
I've done it. I have.
But I liked Annalise. Well, I guess let's go over to a chair and grab her queenly flesh. I guess there's no way to revive her now. Ew. Returning to Yarhagul, we drop down this path over here, which allows us to get into a jail cell and retrieve a key for the upper cathedral ward. Blasting through the healing church, we end up coming to a door, which we open up with the cathedral ward key. This leads us to a new lantern, and we notice that there's a bunch of these, like, fetus-looking things swarming around. Stepping inside, we notice another one of those brain suckers in here, and he's pretty tanky. However, he's able to get taken out with a charged R2, so we're going to need to land those if we're going to be able to take them out effectively. As we continue to progress, a chandelier comes crashing down, dropping 3 werewolves on us. These guys are also extremely tanky. Seems like everything here has a huge health bar. I'm eventually able to clear out the werewolves. However, this area is super dark and full of surprises, and eventually I get jumped by a brain sucker. This ends up happening a few times before we're finally able to open up the orphanage with the orphanage key that we found. As we progress forward, we get jumped by one of these alien-looking things before stumbling into our next boss fight with the Celestial Emissary. Now, I may have called it a boss fight, but what really happens is you get jumped by a bunch of the aliens, and you just kind of have to crowd control your way through the fight. Fortunately, Ludwig's Holy Blade has a really big swing arc, so I'm able to hit a bunch of them at the same time. About halfway through this fight, one of them like explodes and becomes a giant alien, which is now the main part of the boss. Hitting the other enemies won't deal any damage. It's still going to be important to kill the small aliens, as they will overwhelm you if you just ignore them. So I continue to focus my efforts on them, and I'm able to clear most of them out here, allowing me to focus all my efforts onto the giant alien. Now, the Big Daddy isn't really that much of a threat, as I'm able to dodge through his attacks very easily, and I go for a charge R2 on him, which takes out a ton of his HP. After dodging another attack, I smack him one more time and get him down to like a magic pixel, so I just start swinging and hit him one more time, taking the victory. This was not a very challenging fight, which kind of breaks the trend of ad fights being the difficult ones, huh? But this fight was really more of a thematic fight to set up the next boss, as immediately after breaking the glass here, you'll come down this elevator, which drops you off into the Altar of Despair. And as you can see, there's a rather intimidating looking enemy right in front of us. This should be a good fight. fight. I sneak up on the boss, land a charge R2, and even land the follow-up on it, thinking I have a pretty good head start on the boss damage. However, none of it carries over into the actual boss fight, so that was kind of pointless. As the fight kicks off proper, I end up trying to dodge his attack. However, he nails me, but I dodge from his second hit. Popping a blood vial, he whiffs his next attack, and I end up finding an opening for some damage. I go for a charge R2, but it just whiffs. As a result, I eat a slam attack, taking out a ton of my HP. I try to rely some HP back, however, I'm just not spotting good openings yet. As we trade blows, I continue to search for openings on the boss, but none are presenting themselves yet. He's got a pretty big lingering hitbox to some of his moves, so it's very difficult to dodge. However, after finally dodging through one of his moves, I nail a charge R2 on him and see that it does a pretty decent amount of damage. I end up eating a slam and recovery frames though, so maybe not worth, as I have to pop 2 more vials. As the fight progresses, I get into charge R2 on his head, which deals double the amount of damage as normal. However, he sends me back into neutral, and I pop a few vials. He starts spitting these attacks at me, and one of them lands, causing me to go in the frenzy. I use a blue juice, as the description says it numbs the brain, so I thought it would help with frenzy, but it turns out it doesn't. So instead, it just becomes slightly transparent as the frenzy ends up popping, and I'm forced to use 2 more vials. Popping these vials ends up making me go down to 9, so I'm already down below half my vial count, and this boss still has a ton of HP left. I'm not super confident that I'll be able to beat him this attempt, but it's important to get our licks in. As we dodge through the boss's sweeping attack, I notice that behind him, there might be a good spot for us to wedge ourselves to get lots of damage in. So as this fight progresses, my main focus is to get behind the boss and just go for charge R2. I get behind him here, and I go for a charge R2, and the boss staggers. As a result, I just keep going for it. Keep going for the same thing over and over, just absolutely chunking the boss down. I get him to about half HP, and I back up from his move, getting behind him once more, going for another charge R2, causing him to stagger yet again. This takes him down to half HP, and suddenly I think I found the key to the fight. As I land another charge R2, suddenly I think this fight's gonna be easy. I just keep getting behind the boss and going for damage, especially because he keeps going down, giving me all these opportunities for it. However, at this point, he ends up going to a phase 2 where he puts an AoE around him, causing me to take damage just by standing near him, as well as getting some new moves, which I am very unprepared for. Didn't see that coming. On attempt number 2, I followed the same strategy that I've been doing before by getting behind him, taking him to phase 2 rather quickly, and this time I'm prepared for his moves. As he winds up his attack, I know it's going to be the star attack, so I just start dodging madly, and he misses every projectile on me. So I think I finally figured out how to beat this fight. I look to close the distance on the boss as he starts wailing wildly, causing me to dodge through. However, as I get up close, I go for an R2, but his hitbox just barely moves, and I end up whiffing, taking an attack from his slam. Right at the end of the fight, I think I found my opening, and I go for some more charge R2s, staying right up to close to the boss, but I don't realize him going for another star attack, so, yep, my bad. On attempt number 3, I eat his frenzy, and I finally learned that sedatives are what I need to take. However, as I take it, he grabs me, and this just does way more damage than I thought it would, as, again, I just died. On attempt number 4, I don't even manage to get him to phase 2, which has me a little tilted. On my next attempt, you can really tell I'm fighting tilted as I take him to phase 2 and just start mashing the R2 button. Like, it works out here, but I end up getting punished for it pretty hard. I only have 6 vials left, so if I fail this fight, I'm gonna have to start farming for blood vials, and I just really hate doing that. I'm at half HP, so I pop one of my 6 remaining vials and look to go for some more damage on the boss, but he hits me with a side swipe, meaning to pop another vial. And as I do that, he nails me again, popping another vial. I'm down to 3. The boss starts charging at me, and I dodge to the right. However, I guess I don't, as he nails me, meaning I'm down to 2 vials. Oh god, this is not going well, is it? As it starts shooting its frenzy at me, I just dodge to the right, luckily avoiding all the damage it takes. However, I get hit by his side swipe. Again, I just can't dodge that, taking me down to half HP. I go for a charge R2 and just whiff. It's not going well. I dodge a few times, end up in a position where I can go for another R2, and I do manage to hit him here. However, I am just absolutely tilted. He smacks the ground, and I live with a magic pixel, causing me to use my last 2 flasks. I cannot blow this. Please don't let me blow this. Dodging more of his ranged frenzy, I look for an opening and see he does this weird like pause, so I go for an R2 and hit his head. Oh my god, his health. I go for the follow up, and I miss. He hits me. I can't heal that back, so I just roll in and go for an R1. Oh, thank God. I was mashing the R1 button if you couldn't tell. Holy. Alright, so some of these bosses are getting a little tricky, but again, they're not too bad. Anyways, what was this altar that the boss was guarding all about? It looks like ROM's on it, which is weird, and as we approach it, I inspect it and offer the flesh to it, which it says time flows in reverse for the flesh to scrap. Well, wonder what that means. Maybe we should go back to Castle Cainhurst and see what's up. Coming back to Castle Cainhurst looks like... Wait, really? No way! Annalise is back! My bad. My bad. My bad. Anyways, next up we have some very important business as the DLC is up. And that means we gotta head over to this Amygdala and just kind of let him scoop us. So take me away, boys.
Curse their fiends, their children too. And their children forever true.
Ooh, I'm excited. I've never played the DLC before. I've heard a lot of talk about Ludwig and Orphan being super hard boss fights, but, you know, the whole game hasn't been that challenging so far. I mean, I have died 70 times, but it's a Souls game. What do you expect? As I step out of the Cathedral Ward into the Hunter's Nightmare, there's this old hunter here who just kind of absolutely mogs me. But fortunately, he's still vulnerable to being backstabbed, as you can see here. And they have a huge parry window, so they're not too bad. As I press forward, I noticed that there's a bunch of beastmen here, so I start attacking them. However, a giant flaming boulder comes rolling down, which we're just barely able to get out of the way of. As I approach the doors where Vicar Amelia is in the real world, I line up a charge R2 on these enemies, but the guy who comes out of the doors is absolutely terrifying. He's so tanky that even a visceral attack that I land does like no damage to him. Look, he's still got like 2/3 of his HP. He ends up killing me with what I can only describe as his bell attack, handing me my first death of the DLC. This is followed up immediately by death by a dog, before I finally managed to get past Big Chungus over here by letting the enemies do most of the work for me. Stepping inside, we see this huge beast just holding an eye pendant, which we go ahead and take for ourselves. Advancing forward, we dodge some Gatling guns before coming across the animal I have become over here. We're eventually able to take him out before we stumble across this guy who gives us a bit more info on where we are.
You're a hunter with your sanity, aren't you? Must have taken a wrong turn then, eh? Well, we're more alike than you think. This is the hunter's nightmare, where hunters end up when drunk with blood.
We press on through a river of blood before coming across this chapel-looking area where we're going to be spending quite a bit of time.
Please, help us. An silent beast. A great terror looms. Have mercy. Have mercy upon us.
Oh god, it's Ludwig. And all the stories I've heard, nothing could have prepared me for how difficult this fight was going to be. While my weapon is +9, it's probably recommended that it was +10 for the DLC, and I'm probably a bit under-leveled as well, which means that all these fights have a little bit of an added difficulty curve to them. I entered this fight without maximum blood vials, so I'm already down to 10, so I really have no shot of winning this. As you see, I've only landed like one attack on him so far. I'm giving it my all, but I know in my heart that this is just going to be a learning attempt. In all the boss fights I've had so far, Ludwig is definitely moving the fastest and most like deranged that I've seen so far. He also doesn't give you a lot of space to heal and neutral. Every time I try to pop a vial, I'll end up just eating an attack from Ludwig. It's similar to how bosses function in Elden Ring, where when you heal and neutral, they'll punish you for it. Now that being said, I did just get away with one right there, so it's not totally similar. As Ludwig charges enemy, I quickly dodge inwards and get behind him, taking a swing. However, I'm only able to get one as the momentum takes him way forward. As the fight picks back up, I get Ludwig into a micro stagger state, but he then does a sweeping attack. And while later on I will learn how to dodge this, I have no idea what to do for it right now, and it just always clips me, taking away a ton of my HP. He's doing a crap ton of damage, and I feel like every combo I eat, I end up just at 1 HP. Plus, he's just so all over the arena that I can't figure out when I'm supposed to hit him. This fight's actually gonna be really difficult, isn't it? Oh boy. As I pop one of my few remaining blood vials, Ludwig starts to shoot this like white substance at me. Let's not talk about it. Before jumping into the air and just barely not landing on me. He then transitions straight into another combo as I eat both hits. Now I'm able to get some good hits on him with the ride mechanic to not lose all my HP as a result, but he just keeps on attacking, man. After he charges through me, taking out a huge chunk of my HP, I pop another vial, and I'm down to 4. For a learning fight, I'm using an awful lot of vials, meaning I'm gonna have to farm eventually. Then Ludwig rises into the air, and I start rolling thinking he's gonna come down immediately, but he just doesn't. So I keep rolling, and the timing messes me up, meaning that he just lands on me and I die, making for the first of many deaths. For attempt number 2, I charge into the arena and Ludwig charges at me, nailing me with his first attack. Now I don't realize it yet, but he does that every time and eventually I'll be able to punish that. After grabbing my blood echoes, I get hit by another attack and just keep trying to roll away, attempting to get a heal off. However, Ludwig's consistent aggression makes it way harder to heal in this fight than any other boss fight I've had so far. As he jumps into the air, I roll, just barely managing to dodge his attack, taking a swing on the way out. I'm really not doing a lot of damage to this guy, huh? As we size each other up, Ludwig takes a big sweeping strike, and I dodge to the left. However, you don't want to dodge into Ludwig on that move, because as you can see, if you dodge to the left, you just die. Starting at attempt number 3, Ludwig charges in at me, and I finally learn to dodge forward. I get a few swings on the way out, but Ludwig's rapid aggression punishes me for doing so. Next, he jumps into the air, which is the quick version, and I dodge straight into it, taking a crap ton of damage. He swings again, before I can even get my heal off, and I'm just like, amazed. I haven't had a boss do this since Elden Ring. This is like, wow. He killed me there. Fuck! And as you can see, I'm not happy about it. Well, buckle in, boys. Might be here a while. Jesus Christ, that was way too many attempts. Anyways, as I approach it for attempt number like 40, 50, who fucking knows, Ludwig comes at me with his dash attack, which now easily dashed through and land 2 R1s as a result. As pissed off as I am with this fight, I can't help but give Ludwig, like, respect, I guess? I haven't been humbled by a boss like this since Millennium. Blade of Mikula. I go for a charge R2, but cancel it early just getting a normal R2, which at this point I'm having to do quite often. As Ludwig smacks me with his head, I try to retaliate to use the rally mechanic to get my health back, which has become a very important strategy at this point. I still haven't used a health vial, and it's very important that I conserve them throughout the fight in order to maximize my chances of winning. I feel pretty confident about the first phase of this fight at this point, but it's very important that I don't take it for granted, as I still feel pretty weak in the second phase, and it's going to be very important to maximize my blood vials going into that phase. Ludwig does his like spit calm attack at me, which I dodged to the right of and punished him with a few R1s. I've actually managed to get him down to a quarter HP without having to use a blood vial. I'm feeling pretty good, which right as that happens, I get Ludwig to stagger, and I'm in a perfect position to go for a visceral attack, which just does an insane amount of damage. I greed for an R1 following that, however he headbutts me, but I'm still able to rally back most of my health. I'm in the flow state this fight. I smack him again from the back, and then easily dodge to a sweeping attack. After 40 or 50 tries, you know I finally got this first phase downloaded. As Ludwig continues to try and hit me, he finally lands an attack, which I'm not in a position to rally back health, so I finally pop one of my blood vials. I dodge to the left when he does his charge attack, which does have the capability of one-shotting you, so it's very important you do, to which I run in going for a sprint attack, and just start wailing on him. I'm pretty sure he's about to transition into phase 2, and it turns out I was right.
All along. My true mentor, my guiding moonlight.
At this point in the fight, Ludwig is no longer a ferocious monster, but an equal opponent. We're here, having a duel, and I say, let the dance begin. I swing on Ludwig trying to rally back my health, but he swings back on me. We're trading blows, and neither of us want to give the other one an inch. This is far and away my best attempt I've had at Ludwig since I still have 18 vials, but as I heal, he punishes my heal. It's definitely important to give Ludwig respect as an opponent because he demands it. As Ludwig shoots his Moonlight Greatsword at me, I tank the first hit but dodge the second. I swing at him to rally back my health, but he nails me in the head. I dodge right at the end, but the damage is done. I'm gonna have to pop some blood vials. As I back off in the neutral attempting to heal, he tries to hit me, but I finally get enough distance to finally pop 2 blood vials. And let me just say, you can enjoy the music here. Yeah, that is literally my favorite part of any FromSoft boss song, so you're welcome. The dance between Ludwig and I continues. I roll backwards, and I finally dodge through one of his attacks. I gain space, popping a blood vial, and I can feel in my heart of hearts that I have this fight. I dash through his attack and start hitting him from the back. I've been fighting Ludwig for well over 3 hours. I know his every move. He knows my every move, but he can't handle the iframes. As he charges up an attack to hit the ground, I back up, pop another vial. But poor old predictable Ludwig gets dodged on, and I find my opening. This is definitely doable. I know I have this in me. I will not let Ludwig beat me for 4 hours. It will only be 3. As Ludwig winds up another attack, I get behind him and start hitting him with R1s. However, he sweeps behind and hits me from the back. He starts shooting his Moonlight Greatsword at me and again hits me for his first attack, but I dodge his seconds. He hits me with a change-up and nails me. However, I dash into Ludwig and I notice him going for a stupid attack. Why are you doing that, Ludwig? I can punish that. I get behind him and I go for a charge R2 and I realize it's over.
The password!
Ludwig, you were the first boss to actually give me a challenge since I've played Elden Ring, and for that, I give you my respect. We go and grant Ludwig a peaceful death after the fight.
Good hunter of the church, have you seen the light? Are my church hunters the honorable Spartans? I hoped they would be. Ah, good. That is a relief. To know I did not suffer such denigration for nothing. Thank you kindly. Now I may sleep in peace. Even in this darkest of nights, I see the moonlight.
Afterwards, he drops his Holy Moonlight Sword. Afterwards, we head back to the Hunter's Dream, and we'll use this opportunity to take a look at our stats. We're now level 63, about to be 64, as we dump another point into our stamina. Advancing on past the Ludwig boss arena, we come across this, prison?
Shrouded by night with its steady strike, colored by blood but always clear of mind, proud hunter of the church, beasts are cursed and curses shackled. Only ye are the true blades of the church.
And then get confronted by a group of enemies, who end up sending us back to the lobby. Advancing on past the prison, we come across a room where a woman is praying, and then get jumped into another hunter fight, which we end up losing. Twice. No! Before finally managing to secure a victory against the hunters. Approaching the altar they were praying at, we insert the eye pendant. And arrive at what will be a very confusing location, the research hall. This area is home to a bunch of weird dudes with bloated heads, and there's a ton of them. As we enter one of the patient rooms, one of the bloated heads has a request for us.
Just kill me. Free me from this place before I go mad.
We grant his request before moving on to the rest of the tower, in which we unfortunately take a series of deaths along the way.
Please stop! Please stop!
Before finally reaching the top and pulling this lever. We follow the new staircase route and end up getting into a fight with another hunter, who we eventually lose the fight to due to bookcase explosion. On round 2 of the fight, however, we get him to do this. And then drop down to open up these huge doors. Now, I have a feeling there's a boss behind here, and I have 0 blood vials, so I'm just gonna Hunter's Mark out, and I was correct. So, we're just gonna leave. However, before I fight the living failures, I wanted to come back over here where the giant beast is, because my friends told me there was a boss fight, and looks like they were right. Lawrence the First Vicar similarly looks like the Cleric Beast, but fights like a cracked out version of him. As he does his slam, I'm just going for a punish, but he explodes the ground underneath him, taking about half my HP away. He does a crap ton of damage, and I really should have leveled more health at this point. As I dodge away from his jump attack, I consider my options and go for a poorly timed R2 for some reason. I try to get behind the boss, as that was the Cleric Beast's weakness, but Lawrence seems much less willing to let me just sit behind him. I keep wailing on him and he wails on me back. Every time I take a swing, he just punishes me for it. This fight might take a little bit, especially because once again, I seem to be doing very minimal damage on all my attacks. I get behind him and go for a charge R2, but once again, I tank his explosion. Jumping forward in the fight, I think I have myself in a good position by getting behind him, but his large sweeping attacks on his combos as well as the flame extension make it no longer a safe spot to stand. I'm down to about half my vials and I go try to get behind the boss again, lining up to charge R2, but he backs away. I see him go for a grab attack, so I stay back so he doesn't grab me, and then pushing on him looking to be aggressive. However, he punches the ground twice, taking my life with it. Now, for my next few attempts, I just got one shot during phase 1, so I'm going to jump forward to this attempt where I managed to get him into his phase 2. Where, as you can see, that was not an attack the Cleric Beast would do. Lawrence swipes behind him, which I was prepared for this time, and then just continues his combo, so I back up. However, he once again slams the ground rather quickly, causing me to take damage. His swipe attack that hits behind him is consistently getting me, as I love to stand behind the boss, but he just does not want me to be there. As I gain some distance, I see him go for his big ground slam, and I'm not in a great position. However, my swing knocks him down, so I'm able to punish him rather freely here. I go for a charge R2 to contain the damage, and I've got a pretty decent chunk off. He does his little backwards attack, but I'm nowhere near the hitbox. So, thankfully, that's a move I can punish too. Once again, Lawrence jumps across the map. I try to close the distance, but he nails me for it. I get behind the boss and once again eat his backward swipe. At a certain point, you think I'd be prepared for it, but I'm just not yet. The battle between Lawrence and I has been raging on for quite some time now, but I just don't have the damage to make this a quick fight. I back up to avoid his slam attack, and then look to gain some more damage as he regenerates his arm. As I whack him, he looks to do a grab attack on me, which I just slowly dodge to the right of. Looking for a big punish, I go for a charge R2 and actually land it. However, Lawrence sideswipes me again. I can't seem to get any clean hits on him. My damage numbers are so low that I'm really attempting to stay aggressive, but as a result, I'm getting punished for it a lot. I'm trying to rally back health, but every time I'm behind him, he does a little backward swipe, which ruins my chance to rally. Backing up to pop a vial, Lawrence explodes the ground beneath him, and I go for a swipe which whiffs. I then see him going for another ground explosion slam, which I get behind him and start hitting R1, but again, I just tanked the explosion. I know there has to be a position which I can dodge that, however, this is not the run because I die again. Jumping forward another few attempts, we come to one where I actually get him into phase 3. At this point, his legs just like explode and he has this like lava coming out of his back, which provides an area denial that you're gonna have to watch out for during the fight. I try to circle around him, avoiding the lava, but it's gonna be a real pain for me as you'll see during this fight. I'm down to 6 blood vials already, so I can't afford to make too many mistakes. As he takes a swipe at me, I swipe back at him, and then notice him raising his arm, so I go for a dodge. I start circling around him to avoid his swipes, but I end up getting hit by them eventually, taking out a bunch of my HP. As I see him go for his crawl attack again, I think I have an opportunity to heal, so I go for it, but he swipes at me at the end. Moving forward, I think I have a good opportunity to go for some damage. However, I end up having a super close call when he nails me right at the end of his combo, putting me on a magic pixel and has me use my last 2 blood vials. As I heal, Lawrence starts running at me, but I'm out of range for his whole combo, so I run back in and go for a swipe. However, as I dodge in, I land on his lava, taking damage. And his little lava that he spits out is super annoying. As I try to hit him from the back, I again get clipped by the lava, with no way to really heal it anymore. Not realizing he's doing a huge AoE lava, I just get stuck inside of it and down to a quarter HP. I have Lawrence down to a quarter health, and I feel like if I play my cards right, I should be able to win this. I see him spitting lava, so I stand to the side just taking swipes at him, when unfortunately, I don't see him raise his hand for a slam, and I eat it, causing me to die again. As I approach Lawrence on my next attempt, I finally figured out the spacing to get around his like explosion attack, so I get behind him and go for a charge R2, getting about 900 damage on him. He goes back and goes for a grab attack, and this is great for me because my main focus for the first 2 phases of the fight is just going to be to stand behind the boss. I dodge through his first attack, but he spins around and hits me with the next 2 parts of it, and then backs up, causing me to have to pop a few blood vials to recover my health. It's important that I get aggressive on Lawrence because I really don't want to have to deal with like his one-shot ability that he has during this first phase, so I try to dodge behind him, but I get clipped by the fire. Popping another health vial, the fight resets to neutral as I attempt to get behind the boss once again. He goes for a swipe attack, which I again eat twice in a row, but I'm able to dodge a 3rd one and start getting behind him. However, he keeps backing off, making it difficult to stand behind the boss. When I see him go for a slam attack, I load up a charge R2, but I'm just out of range to get the hit on it. I pop a blood vial to top up my health and then dodge behind the boss. However, once again, he clips me with the follow-up on it, and I'm down to very minimal HP again. I try to rally back some health to maximize my blood vial usage when I see him go for another grab attack. Strafing behind the boss, I pop a blood vial and then start swinging on him in order to maximize my damage. When the boss backs up in the neutral one more time, I dodge through his slam attack and I get behind him and I just start hitting him. However, I'm being way too aggressive, and as a result, I keep eating attacks when he spins around. I once again try to get behind the boss. However, I eat part of his slam attack, but I'm able to actually get him to stagger on my next swing. Unfortunately though, I'm not able to get much more off of this, as the boss ends up backing up again. So far, this hasn't been my best attempts, but I've definitely had worse. I see him wind up another attack, I circle behind the boss and start getting some hits in. However, he does a quick little 360 maneuver on me, just barely clipping my health. I'm able to rally most of that health back, but he swipes at me again. I just keep swinging on him to rally back health because I'm trying to preserve my blood vials, seeing as I only have 13 left, and his last phase is the one that's giving me most of the problems at this point. I'm behind the boss now, so I start swinging at him, but he sideswipes me at the end. Really, it's been a very sloppy performance. I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to win if I'm going to keep popping blood vials like this. I use the time while the boss is regrowing his arm to recover my health with a blood vial, and then circle behind him while he does his slam attack, and I get him to stagger, leading to a triple R1 combo. I, of course, once again eat a sideswipe after that, but I notice him going for a grab attack, so I jump behind him again, and just start hitting R1. I break his arm, and then I get him to stagger. I go for the visceral attack, and suddenly my thoughts about the fight are changing. Maybe I can do this. I have him to about half HP, and I still have about half of my blood vials remaining. I dodge through one of his attacks, once again with the goal getting behind him, but I eat the rest of his combo. Maybe I won't win this. This is getting kind of annoying. As Lawrence charges at me, I actually manage to dodge his flame explosion, and I start hitting him with R1 attacks. I'm in a good position here to just keep hitting him, as his attacks just keep whiffing on me. As the fight progresses and I keep hitting him, he regrows his arm once again, which uses another opportunity to pop a blood vial. He regrows his arm again, and I start hitting him, which causes him to shift into his final phase. Now this is the one that's been giving me hell for my past previous attempts, so I pop a bolt paper to try and maximize my damage during this phase, and I do my best to avoid his lava attack, but I do get hit a little there. Undeterred, I put myself in a position to avoid his lava, and I start hitting him. For most of the fight, I've been strafing to the right, but I'm going to start strafing to the left as it seems to work out better. Weaving as many R1s as I can while the bolt paper is still active, I take a hit from his combo, but I use the opportunity to pop a blood vial as he's a pretty far distance away from me. I get up close to him again and start going to the left, taking a swing and being careful to avoid his lava. As I continue to strafe to the left, I notice Lawrence starts going for his lava spit attack, which I use as a good opportunity to go for a charge R2. It does about 900 damage, so it's definitely more worth than going for the R1s. He then starts slamming the ground, but I've learned that at the end of this combo he does a big sweep, so I'm looking for that before I go for more damage. After his sweep, I run in with a charge R1, and he does another spit attack, which I use for another charge R2. I even get the follow-up. I still have 8 vials, and Lawrence is super low, but he slams the ground again, meaning I have to pop another 2 vials. Being careful to avoid the lava Lawrence puts behind him, I end up getting clipped by one of his 180 attacks, taking me to about half HP. I have a near miss when Lawrence swipes at me, but I run in and start hitting R1. My bolt paper's running out by now, but I still have a good chance of winning this fight. He shoots the lava behind him, and I run in front of him, backing him with R1 attacks. I got him to about 1/8 of an HP. He starts slamming the ground in front of him, and I'm sure to strafe to the left and avoid his swipe at the end. As a result, I run in and start hitting him with more attacks. As I once again attempt to avoid Lawrence, I take a brief clip from his lava, when I then notice him start doing his spinning attack. Now his spin attack is punishable with a charge R2 if I position it right, and which I do, and I end up getting one, and I get the follow-up, which finally takes out Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence took me quite a few attempts, but he didn't seem to be quite as important a boss as Ludwig or Orphan is gonna be. So, there's a brief cut of that. Really what you should take away is that this DLC does not fuck around. Now, Lawrence was the first one I'm going to call the gauntlet of boss fights, as I'd already cleared the Astral Tower, meaning that my next boss fight was up against the Living Failures. Now, this fight just throws a bunch of tanky dudes that do a bunch of damage at you, but for the most part, it's basically an ad fight similar to the Celestial Emissary, as you are able to kill each one of the individual Living Failures. Now, unfortunately, my first attempt was pretty garbage, as I misjudged a roll and got clipped by an attack, causing me to die. For my next attempt, I was actually doing pretty well, but I had already used a lot of blood vials, so it's important that I didn't make very many mistakes from here on out. After landing a charge R2 on one of the failures, they started doing what I can only call the summon the heavens attack, in which they all put their hands in the air and summon the cosmos to come down and hit you. Now, I was trying to run away from these, but I should have just stayed behind the tree if I was being smart, as I ended up getting clipped by one of them and rolling into another one. For attempt number 3, when I noticed they were doing their Summon the Heavens attack, I ran behind the enemy and went for a charge R2 in order to get a visceral attack on them in order to abuse the iframes and get a bunch of damage in. It worked out for the most part, but at the end I did get clipped by one of them. It didn't kill me, however, so it was a valid strategy to use throughout the rest of the fight. However, when I started doing it again, I tried to use the same strategy, but I accidentally killed the one I was going for a visceral attack on. I did manage to dodge throughout most of the attack though, so no harm, no foul. I just played my life throughout the rest of the fight, and when I noticed them going for the attack again, I lined up a charge R2 and just finished them off. As I attended the Aura Farm after the fight, a comet just came out of the sky and hit me, so that's what I get for doing that. And while the Living Failures may not have been the hardest fight in the world, it's immediately followed up by a super cool boss fight. Opening the door behind the Living Failures, we approach what looks to be a corpse and go ahead and inspect it.
well alone. Oh, I know very well how the secrets beckon so sweetly. Only an honest death will kill you now. Protect you from your wild curiosity.
Oh, Lady Maria. The only thing making this not peak Miyazaki is the fact that she's wearing shoes. Now, as Lady Maria is a hunter boss fight, I'm pretty sure I can parry her, so I'm gonna try and go for that throughout most of the fight. I end up missing on the first attempt, but as I attempt to retaliate on her to rally back my health, I see that she staggers during my hits. As Maria and I size each other up, she quickly strikes at me while I'm still looking for parries. I avoid the rest of her combo and retaliate with some hits of my own. However, the parry button is calling my name, and when she winds up her next attack, I see her dash in and I parry her. I take this opportunity to go for a visceral attack, which does a lot of damage. If I can continue this pattern, this fight shouldn't prove to be difficult at all. Maria switches stances and goes for an attack, which I try to parry but unfortunately miss. Lady Maria begins aura walking at me as I maintain distance by walking backwards. I see her wind up an attack and I go for a parry, which I land, but get clipped by the attack, placing me too far away to go for a riposte. I dodge through Maria's next attack and once again begin looking to parry her. As she walks towards me, her attack comes out too quick for me to parry, so I end up trying to swing at her but also miss. We're both just whiffing on each other, which is rather interesting. Maria walks towards me to regain distance as I pop a blood vial, and she dashes away. My itchy trigger finger causes me to shoot at a dash, but it also causes me to land this parry here. I dash in and land another visceral attack, down to 2/10. As our duel continues, Maria dashes away to gain distance and then walks towards me again. She is just an ultimate aura farmer. I try to parry her but miss. She attempts to combo me and definitely succeeds. However, I start dashing away from her. As she whiffs an attack at me, I use the opportunity to pop a blood vial but get punished for it. Down to half HP, I'm gonna need to make space and pop blood vials. Once again, Lady Maria and I are in neutral. She walks towards me and I try to parry her attack, but it just comes out too quick for me to pull out my gun. I dash behind her at the end of her combo and just start mashing R1. She takes a ton of hits from it, so I definitely should try doing this more. I've removed about a third of Maria's HP at this point, so I'm feeling very confident as I still have 16 blood vials. I parry Maria once again and get another visceral attack. I'm feeling very confident about this. This doesn't seem that hard at all compared to the other fights I've been doing, but I've yet to see her phase 2 and I know she's gonna have one. In fact, she starts doing it right here. As Maria finishes her seppuku move, I dash in and try and hit her, but she dashes away. She lines up an attack which I try to parry, but unfortunately fail. After hitting the charge R2 on her, she dashes back to gain space before winding up her next combo. It's at this point that I realize that she has way more range on her moves now, and I'm going to be very careful as dashing back is a recipe for disaster. Maria quickly launches into another combo, which I just totally eat all of, before panic rolling into my death. Alright, maybe it won't be that easy. On attempt number 2, I once again take her to phase 2. However, it's proving to be real difficult for me, as the range and lingering hitbox on most of her moves is causing me to take a lot of damage. As I miss a couple of attacks on her, she goes for another combo, which fortunately aren't true. I dash through the last hit of her combo and attempt to strafe the next part of it, but the increased size of her hitboxes causes me to die. For attempt number 3, I'm making what I believe to be is good progress. However, as she dashes towards me, she lands a combo on me, which ends my run. On attempt number 4, I still have a hyper focus on parrying, which causes me to land one here. However, I dash away and am unable to grab the parry. I'm really starting to get a feel for her phase 2 parry timings, as once again I land another one. However, I'm too far away to actually land the visceral attack as a follow-up. As I fail to parry her here, she lands an attack on me, which I dash a second hit of. However, I get hit by the third hit of. And surprise, surprise, she has a fourth hit, which ends my run. It's a similar story for attempt number 5 and 6 as my morale begins to drop. But for attempt number 7, I'm feeling locked in as I parry her first attack. I refuse to let Lady Maria gatekeep me like Ludwig did, so I'm locking into the fight now. I go in for some more swings on her as I dodge through her attack, which is now a main part of my strategy. Parrying has been rather inconsistent so far, so I want to focus now on dodging through her attacks. After she lands an attack on me, I back up and try to parry, but she lands another attack on me, to which I just start rallying my health back. She staggers so much during this phase that it's super easy just to mash R1 during all these attacks. I still have 19 vials, so I'm not feeling any pressure. When I see her go for an attack, I whip out my pistol and parry her. She hits me, but I dash forward and get the visceral attack off on her. I've now taken out about a third of her HP. As I back up popping a blood vial, Maria whiffs an attack on me. However, she didn't clip me with another one, but I dodge through the second part of her combo and just start wailing on her with R1s. I end up doing a combo that does about 900 damage on her, so I'm pretty satisfied with the result as I also managed to rally back most of my health. I parry Maria's attack here, but she clips me. However, I'm still able to get the visceral attack. Thank God for that. At this point, I'm expecting her to go into phase 2. However, she dashes through and then winds up her phase 2 attack. I back up as the AoE explosion will do damage to me and pop a blood vial as I'm now ready for the real fight to begin. Maria jumps up into the air, which I just dashed through, causing her to whiff. It's at this point in the fight that I'm now going to abandon my hyper focus on parrying. I get behind Maria and start hitting her with R1s, but she dashes away. As I see her charging up an attack, I dash to the left and start hitting her again. I spot another opening to go for a parry, but she clips me and I can't get close enough to go for the visceral attack. However, I land a couple R1s, still landing 600 damage on her, which is still a pretty good end result. Maria begins to walk at me as I back up, creating space and popping a blood vial. She dashes inwards at me, which I try to parry but fail. However, her attack misses. Maria goes for another attack on me, which I try to parry but fail. However, I'm still have time to dash through and land a bunch of R1 punishes, which I also do here. While Maria is an intimidating opponent, she seems to be vulnerable to being dashed into the right of, and her lack of poise on any of her attacks means that I can consistently combo R1s into each other. As I finish my combo, she backs up and I launch my pistol, causing her to stagger once again. I go in for the visceral attack, and I've now taken out over half her HP. I go in for more aggression, causing her to take even more damage. However, at this point, Maria does a move I have not seen yet, and just starts rising into the air, sucking up a bunch of blood and exploding, causing me to take a bunch of damage. I pop 2 blood vials as a result. Maria then charges an attack for what seems like an eternity, launching into a blood flame attack. This is interesting. Is it a phase 3? I haven't seen this yet. And her aggression continues. As I try to parry her, she clips me and I don't get the visceral attack again. It's so inconsistent, I don't know why I keep doing it, when dodging and going for R1 punishes is much more consistent, as you can see here. This leads into another example where I parry her, but I'm too far away to actually get the visceral attack. I end up getting a bunch of R1s and doing 1,000 damage to her anyways, so maybe still worth. As I dodge to Maria's attack, I get behind her and start landing R1s on her again. I fail to parry her, but the damage is done. I have 12 vials and she has a sliver of HP left. Dodging through another one of her attacks, I get up close to her to hit more R1s, and I take her down to a very minuscule amount of HP. Landing a parry on her, I'm unsure if I can be close enough for the visceral, but it may not matter, as even though I don't get the visceral, I get her down to literally a magic pixel and just start mashing R1. I finally conquered Lady Maria, meaning there's only one more boss left. The one who, has been haunting my dreams. After conquering Maria, we present the celestial dial to the clock tower, to which it starts spinning and opening. And once it fully opens, we go through it, revealing the fishing hamlet. As we begin our approach, we're met by this guy, who's just is like muttering to himself.
By the wrath of Mother Kos. Mercy for the poor innocent child. Mercy. Oh, please.
Moving on, we come across our first lantern in front of the guy making the Bloodborne sign, before we then stumble across our first enemy, who's rather sharky. Now this area is just absolutely swarming with enemies, and home to this guy who is just an absolute monstrosity to fight. We're not going to fight them at all, I'm just going to ignore them. However, as we're introduced to a shark dog, we're stabbed in the back, leading to the first of many deaths we're going to experience in the fishing hamlet.
What kind of place is this?
Eventually, as we progress, this guy gets summoned on us, and we decide to roll off the map.
Okay, bye.
We're able to score our revenge on the run back, however, but then have more gravity problems as we progress forward onto the map. Eventually, though, we're able to open up a door, which leads us to another lantern, finally making some progress, after which we jump into some caves. We take a trust fall down this cliff, and then pull a lever which calls an elevator, bringing us back to that same lantern we found earlier. Taking the elevator back down, we spot a bunch of dudes that look like they're praying off in the one direction, and as it would turn out, this is the moment I've been waiting for. This is the hardest fight in all of Bloodborne, and I was so excited for it. I lock onto Orphan and slowly start walking towards him. Orphan looks rather humanoid to me, so I'm pretty sure I can parry him, so I stay in my one-handed forms to try and get some gunshot parries. As I continue to walk towards Orphan, he notices me and lunges into me with an attack. I try to go for the parry, but totally fail. Dodging his follow-up, I take a few R1 swings before dodging away and sizing him up. Quick on the draw, I parry Orphan, I dash in for a visceral attack. You can definitely parry this guy, but man, this guy's got a thick health bar. That did like nothing. I see him lining up another attack and I dash away, and then in on the second hit to try and dash in and get some attacks. I'm able to score 2, but unlike the Maria fight, Orphan actually has armor on his moves, meaning that you can't keep swinging on him. Orphan and I trade blows, and I still have a good amount of vials, so I back up at the end of my dodge, and I just barely somehow managed to not get hit by that while I drop a vial. I fail an attempt to parry on Orphan, but I have time to dodge away. However, he has such a wide sweep on all his attacks that I end up getting clipped by one of them. As Orphan slams the ground, I can tell an AoE is coming, so I back up. We begin walking as we size each other up as the duel continues. However, Orphan hits me with the changeup as he throws a ball at me, and then dashes inwards, taking out a ton of my health. He goes for a meaty attack, which I try to dodge, but totally fail the timing on, causing me to die. Honestly, not a very good first attempt. Starting off attempt number 2, Orphan lunges at me and I try to parry him, but totally whiff it. He then continues his aggressive onslaught by just madly flailing his weapon, whatever the hell the thing is around. I get chunked, so I look to create some space to heal. However, he's got so much range on his attacks, I end up eating one of them. I create even more space while Orphan does his 360 attack in order to actually heal back my health. I have hit him like 0 times and already used 3 vials. Not a great start. I switch forms to the two-handed version of my sword, and I think parrying just not gonna be in the picture here. As Orphan takes a swing at me, I take the full brunt of his attack before dodging behind him. I start noticing that I'm able to get him to go into micro staggers quite often with the two-handed version of the sword, and focus most of my attention on staying behind the boss attacks. As Orphan winds up an attack, I interrupt it with my attack and land a couple R1s on him. Aggression Orphan is showing so consistent that I still have health that I can rally back, which I try to do so here. He leaves no room for me, however, as he jumps back into another attack. I think I'm at a safe distance to pop a vial, but Orphan proves me wrong, just dashing in and slamming me. He then rises into the air, which I dash through, using the opportunity to gain back my health. I start swinging on Orphan and nearly dodge to his next attack. I swing on him again, causing him the micro stagger, when he jumps back into the air and slams his weapon into the ground. As Orphan punches the ground, I realize it's going to be his AoE attack again, so I stay back. Fight slows down briefly, as I realize I'm probably going to be here a while, aren't I? I switch back to my one-handed form of the sword and dodge to his gap closer as I get behind him and start wailing on him with R1s. I continue to try and get behind Orphan, however when I think I have an opening to hit him, he just nails me back. His moveset is so fast and aggressive, I can't handle it right now. It's gonna take me multiple attempts to learn this. The only question is, how many is it gonna take? As Orphan rises into the air, I dash behind him and go for R1 attacks. However, he's not staggering as often as he was when I was using the two-handed version, so all these attacks are a lot more risky than they were before. My health is low, but I'm greedily going for rallies, as every blood vial I have is precious. Unfortunately, he gets me a part of his combo and I die once again. Alright boys, buckle in. We're about to see another montage. It's been over 4 hours at this point. As I approach the elevator to the boss arena, I come to a startling realization. I'm out of fucking vials! So I entered the boss arena ready for what I thought was going to be another practice attempt. As I approached Orphan, waiting for him to notice me, I slow to a walk as I get ready for his first attack. Orphan launches into the air, which I swiftly dodge behind. I seize the opportunity to go for 2 R1s, causing Orphan to micro stagger. The 2 R1 strat was going to be very important for my fight with Orphan, as unless he launched into a move hyper armor on his next attack, it would guarantee me a safe punish. As Orphan and I trade blows, I'm looking to rally back as much health as possible in order to maximize my blood vial count. I came in here with only 15. I quickly dodge behind Orphan's attack and hit him with another 2 R1s. He goes into another micro stagger state, but I keep trying to circle behind him. Over the course of these 4 hours, I had learned that especially during phase 1, Orphan was particularly weak to being stood behind. After dodging through another attack, I get behind Orphan, getting him to stagger again. At this point in Orphan and I's fight, our dance has evolved into something majestic. His wild and aggressive swings are matched by mine. I'm dashing through his moves, but he consistently repositions in a way that makes it difficult to hit him. After taking a hit here, I pop a blood vial as I'm no longer in a position to safely rally back health. I seize the moment to dash behind Orphan and get him to stagger yet again. This two-handed version of the sword is doing a lot of work, so I won't be doing much parrying in this fight at all. I try to go for a charge R2 behind Orphan, but it just barely misses his visceral attack hitbox. I maintain my distance as Orphan throws out a very long-winded combo. As I attempt to get behind Orphan again, I take another few swings and realize I finally got him down to about a quarter HP. This fight's going pretty well for me so far, despite my insurance of a lack of blood vials. I back up from Orphan, but he charges at me. I barely dodge his attack and take another few swings at him. I end up getting him to micro stagger when he's mid-attack, and then as space is made, I dodge through his fastball attack, getting behind him once again. So far, I'm feeling very good about this fight. The only thing that's preventing me from thinking it's a sure win is the fact I didn't come in here with full blood vials. I noticed Orphan going for his AoE attack, so I try to get behind him and go for a charge R2 to get a visceral attack, but he spins around, causing me to miss it again. Orphan is now very close to being half HP, so I want to get him to the phase transition, so I get a little greedy here. However, I'm able to rally back a decent amount of health, but I do have to pop a few blood vials, so he does go into the phase transition here. In my more recent attempts, this is the phase that's been absolutely destroying me, so I need to lock in if I'm going to win this. Orphan rises into the air and slams the ground. I miss my first dodge. However, I dodge the second part of his combo and pop another blood vial. As Orphan starts wildly dashing across the stage, I'm looking for any kind of opening to get damage in. I'm able to stay behind Orphan as he does this attack here, but he keeps dashing around like a rabid animal. As he takes a wild strike, he misses, allowing me to take 2 more strikes on him. Orphan continues to fly around the arena as I attempt to seize any damage opportunity I can find. When I notice Orphan standing up here, I know he's going to be doing his large electrical attack, so I unlock my camera and start looking for where the electricity is coming from. I roll through the wave and immediately switch my attention back to Orphan. I have 10 vials remaining and he has roughly half his health left, so the odds of winning are about equal. However, I eat part of Orphan's attack and have to pop another blood vial. He starts doing his AoE and I back up to make space. I'm not in a position to punish his attack, however, which is rather annoying. Standing behind Orphan here, I go for some attacks, but his attack arc is so huge that it keeps clipping me. I have to pop another vial here. I'm down to 8. Orphan does another AoE attack. I back up, not in a position to punish, which he rises in the air and hits me with a gap closer. I'm barely able to dodge that, but he runs away and hits me with a fadeaway attack. Another vial gone. I pop an extra one just to be sure I don't get one shot, taking me down to 6. Orphan then strikes me. However, I'm in a position to rally back health. I hit him twice, taking most of it back. He jumps into the air, and I roll backwards, dodging his attack. I try to swipe at him again, but he jumps in the air again. The fight's becoming messy and chaotic. Orphan of Kos fights like a caged animal, and the only way you're going to be able to win is if you do the same. I take a hit and roll forward and just barely manage to escape with my life as Orphan slams the ground in front of him. I pop a blood vial while I get behind him, and then start to strafe on him as he does a ranged attack. As I get behind Orphan, I take a swipe at him, but he rises into the air. It's becoming rather difficult to hit him more than once on any combo. He keeps jumping up into the air, allowing me to only take 1 or 2 swipes at him. With only 5 vials left, I have to play my cards right or else I'm bound to lose. Orphan's health is real low and I don't want to blow it. I dodge through one of his attacks here where I notice him going for another electrical attack. Unlocking my camera, I start looking for electricity and try to dodge through it, and I'm successful. Orphan dashes at me, but I dash through him. I take a swipe, but it misses. He swipes at me, but he misses too. We're madly flailing at each other. The victor is going to come down to who wants it more. And I definitely need this. Circling around Orphan, I go for a charge R2, attempting at another visceral, but he spins around again. He goes for an attack on me, but I dodge through it. He's traded a lot of space though, so I don't have an opportunity to punish. He starts flailing on the ground. I get behind him and start hitting him again. He briefly micro staggers and I get greedy. I end up messing up a dodge here and just barely escaping with my life. I pop a vial. I'm down to 4, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel as Orphan's health is so low. He dashes through me and I end up messing up my dodge, going straight into his path. I barely escaped with my life on that one. I pop a vial, but he smacks me. Oh my god, my health is so low. I have to dodge through his attack, and I pop yet another vial, down to 2. Oh, he hits me again. I escape within an inch of my life and pop another vial. I only have 1 more remaining when I see him doing his electrical attack. However, I'm in such a bad position that I can't dodge through the electricity. I have a magic pixel. I use my last vial. I just start swinging. Orphan's health is so low. I know I can do this if I just stay aggressive. I jump on him. He has 1 more hit left, and I kill him. Yes! Oh my god, what a fight. Woo! Orphan of Kos. Well played, my friend. Well played. After the fight, we climb on the Kos and take out the spirit that's hovering above it.
Sweet child of Kos, turned to redemption. A bottomless curse, a bottomless sea, accepting of all that there is and can be.
What a game, man. What a game. But there's still more left to it. We head into the caves and grab this blood rock over here, which lets us take our weapon to +10. Probably would have been useful for the Orphan fight, honestly. After upgrading our weapon to +10, we return to the lecture building and stumble across someone familiar.
Well, this cannot be. You cannot be. No, you didn't. Lord Amygdala? Oh, how did this come to pass? Do you think ill of me? Me? Indeed, I should think not. I shared with you a thing most secret. Now you're witness to a miracle, and all the stronger for it. You should appreciate it if you've a grain of gratitude in you.
You know what, Patches? I do appreciate it. What? Stop laughing like that, man.
I appreciate it.
Advancing forward, we find these doors over here, which we go ahead and open, taking us to the Nightmare of Mensis. I should really stop going through those doors, huh? Now, what's fun about the Nightmare Immensis? That little light over there will just give you a bunch of frenzy. You love to see it. As we attempt to avoid the frenzy light, we get ganked by this, like, weird dog and take another death. But the fun doesn't end there, as we get a rock thrown at us and then come face to face with some giant spiders. Oh boy. After we clear our way through the spiders, we get got by this dork of a hunter who just emotes on us. Dude, stop. After taking our revenge on him, we enter the building where the frenzy light was coming from. Continuing through the house, we take one more death. We didn't stumble across an image from my nightmares.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
And then stumble our way into our next boss fight.
Ah, Kos. Or some say Cosm. Do you hear our prayers? No, we shall not abandon the dream. No one can catch us. No one can stop us now.
Mikolash, host of the Nightmare, or the funny Kos, or some say Cosm guys I like to call him. Now, Mikolash likes to run away from you the whole fight, but eventually I corner him in a room, and let me just say, after having already fought Orphan, this guy is nothing. I get him down to about half HP here and go for a charge R2, and I low profile his attack. The follow-up combo I do on him takes him to phase 2, where he disappears and begins the #1 yap sesh of all time.
Oh, majestic! A hunter is a hunter, even in a dream. But alas, not too fast. The nightmare's world churns unending.
And just when you think he's done,
Some say Cosm. Do you hear our prayers? Ah, Kos. Some say Cosm. Do you hear our prayers? As you once did for the vacuous mother, eyes on our brains to cleanse our priestly idiocy. The grand lake of mud, hidden our concern. Cosmos, of course. Let us sit about and speak feverishly, chatting into the wee hours of new ideas, the higher plane.
yeah, no, this guy's gotta go. And thankfully he's not gonna put up much of a fight, is he? Thank God that headache's gone. Advancing past Mikolash's boss arena, we come across this eye pig and then the shadows of Yharnam before coming across one of the final bosses of the game. Stumbling into the arena, we hear a baby crying, and as we approach it, a cutscene begins to play. Now, Murgo's Wetner seems intimidating at first, but all their attacks just hit forward, so they're very vulnerable to the old stand behind them and hit them with attacks. As you can see here, I did 1,500 damage with just one charged R2. I go for another one doing another 1,000 damage, and again, coming off of the Orphan fight, this is just like child's play. I mean, like, I'm behind them and they just keep attacking forward. What's up with that? After landing another few swipes, I'm pretty sure I have this boss fight on lockdown until suddenly they do something weird. As the boss approaches about a third HP, they look up into the sky and they put this purple cloud of mist above them, meaning I can't see anything in the arena. I get clipped by the gap closer and then try to find a spot to heal as they keep slicing at me. However, once that happens, one of them just kind of pops out of the ether and I end up getting comboed by the other.
It's enough slices!
This attack continues for a little bit as I just kind of desperately dash throughout this stage, hoping to not be hit. And I start to get worried as I haven't found an opening to hit them at all during this entire attack. I just keep playing the evade game and rolling around, but I keep taking little bits of damage here and there, having to pop blood vials. Eventually though, the nightmare ceases as the purple mist lets up and I can finally just attack one of the wet nurses. I waste no time in going for a charge R2 to score another 1,000 damage on them, and then dash behind the boss, looking to just kind of follow them and hit them with R1s as I keep moving forward. I do so here, and continue to do so throughout the rest of the boss fight. As we get towards the end of the fight, I get super greedy and just start tanking a bunch of attacks from Margot. However, it matters not, as I end up beating the boss in the end. This gets followed up by a very long pause. Before we finally get the iconic nightmare slaying text. They also dropped the last piece of the umbilical cord, so there's only 2 more bosses left to fight. Hope you're ready. Returning to the Hunter's Dream, we pop all our pieces of the umbilical cord, and then go talk to the doll, because why the hell is this place on fire?
Good hunter, you have come. Dawn will soon break. Gammon awaits you.
Well, I guess we shouldn't keep Gammon waiting. Let's go see what he wants.
Good hunter, you've done well. The night is near its end. Now, I will show you mercy. You will die, forget the dream, and awake under the morning sun. You will be freed from this terrible hunter's dream. Dear, oh dear, what was it? The hunt, the blood, or the horrible dream? Oh, it doesn't matter. It always comes down to the hunter's helper to clean up after these sorts of messes. Tonight, Gammon joins the hunt.
You're telling me he was faking the wheelchair the whole time? What the fuck, bro? Gammon and I start sizing each other up. I start pacing to the right and pull out my pistol. A perfect parry. Gammon, you might be too old for this after all. As I recover from my visceral attack, I look to regain ground on Gammon and start going for damage. However, I notice him going for attack, so I swiftly dodge. As the duel progresses, I see Gammon going for an attack, so I try to parry, but unfortunately mess up the timing. I don't, however, mess it up this time, but I do get clipped by his attack, which sends me flying away, meaning I can't take the visceral. Gammon and I are locked in a dance. I'm pretty far away and have a little bit of health missing, so I go for a blood vial, but Gammon punishes me for doing so. I dash into Gammon and start going for some attacks on him when he sends me flying into the air. Gammon jumps over me and I roll into him, landing attacks on his back. However, I greed for one hit too many and again get clipped by Gammon. I need to be more passive on these. I can't keep getting hit like this, or I will lose the fight. As I maintain my distance from Gammon, I see him go for attack, so I try to parry him, which fails, and I just keep trying to parry. Like, honestly, I'm just spamming the gun. I dash through Gammon's attack, and try to hit him, but get clipped by the second part of his combo. I'm at a far distance, so I pop another blood vial, and switch sword forms to two-handed, as I don't think parrying is actually going to work out for me. As I dash through Gammon's attack, I go for a punish with the two-handed sword, and oh my god, he is staggering quite a bit from this. The increased range from the sword also allows me to land this attack, and as he dashes in on me, I get behind him and start mashing the R1 button. However, he unveils his new trick. A gun. Dodging through Gammon's gap closer, I then close the distance and get up to him and start wailing on him with R1 attacks. However, I get greedy and get clipped by another attack at the end. In a daze, I start dashing backwards to avoid his attack, which I know is a mistake, and as a result, I end up eating part of his combo. Popping a blood vial, Gammon looks to roll in on me, but I dodge backwards and look to go for a charge R2. However, he dodges backwards and just gets behind me, and the fight descends into a bit of chaos as we both just keep rolling. The curiosity in each of our attacks grows as we're just trying to land attacks on each other, but each of us are just too agile. We continue to dash back and forth, and neither of us are landing attacks on the other one when suddenly Gammon whips out his pistol and just shoots me with it twice. I'm gonna have to recover that HP with a blood vial, but I almost have Gammon at half HP already. I dash through his attack, but he dashes through mine. We're both just too fast for the other one. I see Gammon roll in and avoid a shotgun blast, finally able to land some attacks on him when he transitions into his final phase. Gammon receives his blue aura, which I kind of ignore, going for a charge R2, laying a chunky 1,000 damage on him. But I did notice him facing the moon and back off, but have second thoughts and just start hitting him anyways, which is a mistake as he explodes after this. The explosion did a fat chunk of my HP, so I'm forced to pop 2 more blood vials. Gammon starts aura walking at me as I dodge his his gun. I go for a quick attack, but realize he doesn't stagger anymore, so he punishes me for going for more than one. We continue to dance back and forth, but I've learned my lesson on swinging more than once on Blue Gehrman. As I immediately dash away, he shoots his shotgun at me, which I dash through. He dashes back and I dash forward. I see him whiff a combo, and I whiff my next attack as well. He dashes in on me, landing an attack. However, he misses his shotgun shot, giving me a prime opportunity to pop 2 more vials. I'm back to full health. When Gehrman's in the mid-range, he goes for a shotgun blast, which I dash through and punish with an R1. Twice. In fact, I just keep doing this over and over. I think I broke Yharnam, guys. Like, seriously. He just keeps shooting a shotgun. Please stop shooting your shotgun, Gehrman. It's not working out for you. He eventually goes for a normal melee combo, to which I get behind him and I tank a shotgun shot, my bad. But then he gets back to the same pattern.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
And here it is, the final fight of the game, the Moon Presence. Dodging around one of its attacks, I look to get behind the boss and just start swinging on him. However, he quickly dashes back and nails me with his tail whenever I look to get aggressive. I swing to rally back health, but eat a huge uppercut from the Moon Presence as a result. Backing up, I try to recover my health by popping a blood vial when I realize that I still only had 11. I didn't regain 20 after the Gehrman fight. This might be a bit tricky, especially since I'm at half HP and have to pop another 2. I'm down to 8 already. As the Moon Presence starts running at me, I dash behind it and take a swing and see I'm actually doing a lot of damage. I didn't think I had this much done to it already. If I play my cards right, maybe I can win this fight in one try too. I think I have the Moon Presence in a pretty good spot here. However, I see him going for this charge attack and it wipes out all my HP. It's all riable back though, so I keep swinging, but I'm out of stamina. I can only hit it so many times. He just stands there while I hit him though, so I'm able to get about half my HP back as a result. I pop another blood vial since I'm full screen away, when I see the Moon Presence shooting up these weird bubbles. I don't know what they do, but I don't want to get hit by them, I'm assuming. However, I did end up getting hit by one, and the debuff it gives me, I'm going to find out here pretty soon. As Moon Presence smacks me on the way out, I look to gain space so I can pop some blood vials and heal, but instead I get the Where's My Wallet animation. Dude, what's going on? As the Moon Presence roars, I lose all my HP and I know I can't gain it back, so I have to run in and just hit him to rally back the health. I'm able to recover it all, but I still can't pop any blood vials as you can see on a debuff meter. This fight just got a lot more tricky. I'm desperately trying to wait out the debuff so I can finally heal off of the sliver of HP I have when I see him going for another attack. I'm pretty sure it's the bubbles and the last thing I want is for his debuff to get extended. I'm so hyper-focused on his attack that I don't realize the debuff actually already expired and I can heal right now. However, I do realize it eventually and pop 2 more blood vials. Back to full health, I have a lot more confidence in the fight as you can see his health is already super low. I hit him again taking him to about a quarter HP when he roars, taking away all my HP. I use the opportunity to rally back my health. I hit him 3 times before I ran out of stamina, had to start waiting between attacks. As I dash away from the monster, he spins around looking at me and starts dashing back towards me. I get hit by his attack as he runs forward, but I spot an opening to start swinging on him again. 1 attack, 2 attacks, 3 attacks, and ladies and gentlemen, I have finally beaten Bloodborne.
Are you cold? Oh, good hunter.
What a ride. Does this game hold up after 11 years? Yes, obviously it holds up. Oh my god, it was so great. I loved every moment of the game. Now, to the video's title of whether or not Elden Ring made the Bloodborne bosses easy or not, a lot of them it probably did. There's a common theme in Bloodborne bosses that sitting behind the boss is usually their weakness, and bosses in Elden Ring will usually rotate fast enough to actually smack you if you try to do this. However, let me say I do feel coddled by the lands between. In Elden Ring, you get a horse and a huge massive open world to go explore as you please. In Yharnam, there's nothing but you, your weapon, and your gun. And most of my deaths did come from the world itself, with two notable exceptions. Orphan and Ludwig kicked my ass for about 8 hours total, so shout out to the DLC for being timeless, and as for most FromSoft DLC, being the best part of the game. You've made it to the end of the video that is over 2 hours long, so please do me a favor and like, comment, subscribe if you're here. I really want this video to do well, as if it does, I'd love to play through the rest of the FromSoft games, but a video like this takes a lot of time and effort from me. I spent almost a month making it, so please, 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 at the very least, drop a like. I'd really appreciate it. I have some other videos on here that have done decently well. If you're a fan of Crusader Kings, Guilty Gear, or Project Zomboid, I've made content on that, so if you want to see more of me, watch those videos. Whatever you do, do not watch a video with my face in the thumbnail. They are garbage. Okay, that's about it. Bye.